you think, Gary? Lucas, your water bottle, you know. All right. Right here. Good. Cool.
So unfortunately for the live stream, we're using a webcam, which is not ideal, but we are also recording onto our good camera, so you'll get a recording as opposed to. Thank you. Was that for me? For you?
Anyway, that's how with 80s down, because they really want to get into that. So it was so that's why he got good seats, and they were a good price.
Yeah.
So just tell me, and we will work that out, because the season ticket holders are a little bit cheaper.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the convenience fee won't be too.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No, I was just looking at these. I guess the prom was, is that August?
I think it's August, yeah.
That's fun. What did you think?
I utterly
It's so horrible.
gobsmacked. Absolutely hated it. No, I was like probably like speechless for like the first hour after.
I just went, okay, I've seen this now 4 times. I told you. I just see real
I love it. I did not have the time to put anything together. No, it's perfect.
At least I'm being honest.
I'm trying to figure out that should my lower east side. You read it on the upper east side.
Should be Russian.
Read it on the lower
East side.
No, it is east side.
Just do whatever.
It's gonna be whatever comes out.
I just call it down under syndrome. It's like Australia, that's my stance.
Yeah.
Also, I'm getting live updates from like Catholic something broadcast.
Where?
Somewhere like Florence, maybe.
Oh, is that where it was going to be? Because they were supposed to do it at CMU. Jan was supposed to do it.
No, 5 stars.
It's 5-star that they gave it to. Okay.
Well, I can address the crowd while we're waiting on one other audience member. And thank you guys so much for coming today, and to anybody who's watching on the stream. I'm Elise Dewsbury. I'm the artistic director here at New Musicals Inc. And we are, of course, a community of book writers, lyricists, and composers, and we dedicate ourselves to helping them get their new musicals going and get a chance to hear them out loud. So tonight we're going to be hearing a reading of Pickpocket by Sandy Kasten and Billy Wolfe. Pickpocket has been through a few years of development and several new drafts, and so this is an opportunity for Sandy and Billy to get a chance to hear this newest draft and see how it's going and how the changes that they've made are working, and is the story clear and all that. So we ask you to use your imaginations, because we have some double and triple casting that might not, the real cast would be a little bit bigger, and I will be reading some stage directions from the corner over there that will help set the scene, but we ask you to use your imaginations to imagine what would happen if this were on a stage and you actually could see everything that's going on. But we're going to try to give you an idea of what it is and have you use your imaginations. We have the amazing Ron Barnett at the and this fabulous cast has had 2 rehearsals, and they are incredible. So we are thrilled to have them playing all the multitude of characters that they're playing. So we're just going to hang tight for another moment or two. We have one audience member, and then we will get started.
Philip, would you like to do a tap dance number?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Normally that's it's not okay.
Angela should do some my towers and my other.
I don't like silence. I'm uncomfortable in silence. So look what I started. I'm still not. Nope. Yeah, no. It's weird, isn't it?
Does the rabbit have one pair of tap shoes or two? Is it?
I have a pair in my car.
Making sure. Good. I knew I liked it.
You never know when you're gonna need it at the Target.
True.
If it was like it had.
Yeah, had I not done laundry today, my tap shoes would still be in my car.
Yeah. Thankfully, you did laundry today.
Yes, it's true.
I say that
No one
out
wants your
loud.
dirty tap shoes, only clean.
So noisy.
Well, I wish now my tap shoes
Yeah,
were
a little bit.
tags.
They clack.
Are they?
No, they should be.
They should be.
I don't wear taps for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, you were just taps
Just
in
regular
that.
boots. Yeah, they
That was
originally had, I originally was supposed to have tap boots, they were in the building.
Yeah.
But the costume shop could not get the taps attached. And so I had the boots the first night, and then I went to pull out the towel.
Did the taps go with
They
the
won't.
socks?
Oh,
Oh, that's
Well, they
funny.
weren't socks, they wanted to make like
Also,
a garden.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And like the heels stayed on, but like my calves stayed on, so it was like jingling, and like the front was like,
I wish I could have been there for
and
that.
then I was telling Steve to stay with that, and I was like, that wasn't a good
One other thing that I can tell you that we're doing as a you know, just as a way of letting you know what's going on. The cast, when they're in a scene, they will stand up. That would mean I walked into the, and I'm on stage. If they sit down, they're not on stage. So that will help you understand who's on stage at any given time.
I was gonna,
So there's not much difference in my height. I'm just gonna like this.
and so we're not on stage. And then you can't see us. Yeah, exactly. It's right behind you like this.
And then just don't.
I'm sure
all the
Dawn's
lines back and forth, or do you just wait
I'm
expectantly
sure.
for someone?
It was funny because when I was there, she was like, yeah, well, I was supposed to have a guaranteed show on one of the days that, you know, we got canceled and.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for my favorite knockout?
Yeah, she was supposed to cover one of the tap ensemble guys, but then throughout rehearsal,
Right.
he was always there, but other people were. She was always filling in for like other tracks. And then when we came
Which is the only time that
she
I
ended
always
up
done this,
covering
because when it's said on the show,
one of
I'm
like
just
the
like,
truth guys because he was out. And so she's learned like
Every part.
learned and performed every other track that she was not supposed to. And then she learned Shakespeare on Saturday afternoon.
Right.
Like we met there at 3, just walk through it.
Yeah.
She had like parchment paper in hand.
David Tennant.
Oh, good.
And then
That's amazing.
And then one of our other dance ensemble women was in a car accident Saturday.
When I was in high
her
school,
car.
but we're at college.
But she was planning to fall out of the show anyway. She had like a cool thing. She was like, really want to do that. And Anna, one of the other things, covered. And we were like, sure, no problem. And so Anna, who hasn't been with us since before tech, it's
Oh my gosh.
completely cold.
Oh, I bet that was amazing.
It was so fun. I mean, she panicked a couple times because she didn't know like where costumes were preset or something. She came out without a costume.
Right, okay.
From New Who, the one that's
But she's like
There are enough
17.
actors.
Oh, yeah, she was like 17 and like terrified she'd be fired. And you're like, oh, no. Like,
Here we go. Here we all.
You're all met.
everybody ready?
Oh my God.
Yes.
All right. Welcome. This is Pickpocket. Book and lyrics by Sandy Kasten, music by Billy Wolfe, based on the novel In the Bishop's Carriage by Miriam Mitchelson. The time is 1903. The place is Manhattan. Act 1. A cold winter afternoon outside Obermuller's Vaudeville Theater in Manhattan. A big sign advertises the 5-cent admission price. A variety of people enter and line up to buy tickets. These people slowly disappear into the theater. Mabel and Carl enter and get in line. Nance, in a black coat, enters. Mabel produces a cigarette and a lighter. Carl takes the lighter from her and lights her cigarette. Carl returns the lighter to Mabel, who slips it back into her coat pocket. Nance stands nearby. Then she moves to the end of the line. Mabel puts out her cigarette. She and Carl disappear into the theater. The rest of the line disappears into the theater as the overture ends, and we transition now to the vaudeville stage, where a troupe of vaudevillians are about to perform a musical number. The members of the troupe are are on stage at the Obermuller's Vaudeville Theater at Fred Obermuller enters.
Welcome to Obermuller's Vaudeville, the greatest entertainment in New York.
It's a show that's always clean. There is nothing that's obscene. It's so wholesome you could eat it with a fork.
It's 1903, modern times, the 20th century. We have electric lights and telephones.
We live on the Upper East Side. I serve on the charity board.
We are people of distinction. It is obvious we're slumming, but the music keeps us coming to this godforsaken pit.
We have carriages and drivers, and our rigs are drawn by horses.
So the streets are always filthy. We are ankle deep in shit.
A poor tenement man enters, and the rich man shares his flask with him.
In the White House we've got Teddy. There's a joke about elections. City Hall is bought and paid for. A machine that runs on grease. The policemen have their fingers in the politicians' pockets. It's hard to serve two masters, but we try to keep the peace. We're building a brand new Grand Central Terminal. The elevated will soon be underground. It's progress.
We live on the Lower East Side. Progress hasn't come to the tenements yet. There's a lack of indoor plumbing, and rats and other vermin, and voracious little insects that attack us in our bed. There's diphtheria and typhus, and the deadly influenza. Vaccination is uncommon, so diseases quickly spread.
We don't get much education. We do piecework at the table without light or ventilation from the time that we are 5. And the future looks abysmal. We'll be working in the sweatshops.
We rely upon your wages so the family can survive.
In the cafes, the bohemians gather. Poets and painters and socialist thinkers.
Feminist women with good educations argue for voting and
Go on, Betty, they're just words. They won't burn your tongue.
argue for voting and sexual freedom.
We've forbidden contraceptives, and abortion is illegal. So we have a lot of babies. There's a plentiful supply.
It is shameful to admit this, but we can't afford to feed them.
Then consider it a blessing that so many of them die.
If we make it to adulthood, there is still tuberculosis, which is very often fatal. We don't have a lot of time. We will burn out very quickly, but we're living to the fullest. We indulge in all the vices.
And we often turn to crime.
Welcome to Obermuller's Vaudeville, the finest talent you can see today. Any time of day or night, we are here for your delight. So relax and let your troubles melt away.
Grand Central Depot lobby. There are businesses around the perimeter, including a bar and a shoe shine stand next to a door marked Ladies Lounge. Tom walks around as he waits for Nance. Other people come and go.
Oh, Tommy, I'm sorry I'm late. I promised myself I'd leave right on time, and that's what I did, only then I had to go around to the stage door and watch Lady Grey come out, and she took her sweet time about it, I can tell you. Well, she finally did come out, can you imagine? And she looked so beautiful and so disdainful, too. A real English lady setting her aristocratic little foot down on the dirty old New York street.
Nance, how many vaudeville shows you seen since you run off from the orphans home? Plenty, if you ask me.
Well, I never saw a single one before I escaped from that miserable place.
I know it's doped you. It's that actress lady's diamond necklace, ain't it?
I bet I could find a way.
No, you got some strange ideas sometimes. You gotta learn to stick with what's practical.
Yes, Tommy.
Let's just do this thing and I'll take you out for supper.
You mean it? Let's go to one of those Italian places with white tablecloths and candles on the table.
Are you the queen of Persia now? Maybe you'd like to go to Delmonico's.
Oh, yes! Someday, when I have a new dress. It'll be purple, I think. Yes, purple like a ripe plum with a white lace
Stop
collar.
your prattling, Nance. Don't bungle this.
Well, you just put that idea right out of your mind and think of something else like all the money you've saved up for us.
Money's slippery stuff, Nance.
A tipsy man enters the lobby from the bar. He's well-dressed and unsteady on his feet.
That one. He's tanked up for sure.
Tom bumps into him.
Oh, excuse me, sir, how clumsy of me. It seems I'm all turned around. I'm looking for my sister. She's arriving on the train from Poughkeepsie. For the life of me, I can't remember which track it comes in on.
That's all right. No harm done.
While Tom is talking, Nance moves in and picks the tipsy man's pocket. She tucks the watch into her clothing.
My sister is a student at Vassar College. A scholarship girl, making the family proud. Say, did you hear that the founder of Vassar College made his fortune from brewing beer? Isn't that interesting? Oh, please excuse me. I think I see my sister over there.
A policeman making his rounds enters. Seeing him, Tom exits quickly. Nance's escape route is blocked by the policeman, so she makes her way into the ladies' lounge where several women are seated. A coat check girl is in attendance. Nance takes off her coat and hat and hangs them on the coat rack next to an elegant red coat and cap. The tipsy man goes to the shoe shine stand and sits down. The shoe shine boy starts to work on his shoes. The tipsy man reaches into his pocket for his watch. He waves the shoe shine boy aside, stands up and checks his other pockets, and checks the first one again.
Oh, my watch is gone.
When did you have it last?
Oh, just now when I left O'Malley's, this young man bumped into me. I should have realized.
Can you describe him?
About this tall. I don't know. There was nothing special about him.
Well, that's not much to go on. I'm sorry.
The tipsy man exits, and the policeman positions himself next to the open doorway of the ladies' lounge and stands there looking around the lobby. Nance sees him. She stays calm, pats her hair, and turns and points at the elegant red coat and hat that hang next to her own things. The coat check girl hands her the red coat and hat. Nance slips into the coat and sets the hat on her head and stands in front of the mirror.
Oh. In this coat I might be a Vanderbilt, dripping with diamonds, bracelets and rings, instead of a pickpocket earning my living by lifting other people's things. The richest of wallets, the collar is fur, the cut and the drape of it ever so fine. Who would have thought just a moment ago such a coat would ever be mine? Lunch with the bishop and then to the opera. Enrico Caruso's debut at the Met. Society ladies are eager to meet me. They know by my coat I belong to their set. I'll dine at Delmonico's, see the Florodora girls. Then on a steamer I'm off to Paris. The wealthiest gentleman dancing with me, to think of a charity orphan escaping across the sea. The richest of wallets, the collar is fur, the cut and the drape of it ever so fine. Who would suspect that tucked into my shirtwaist it's ticking? It's ticking. Ticking like a bomb. What if it somehow shows? What if that policeman knows? He'll march into these ladies' rooms and handcuff me and take me to the tombs. And all around me I see bars, bars, bars. Calm yourself, Nance. The person who's wearing this coat is surely a Vanderbilt. Her glamour and wealth and distinction are easy to see as she struts out of here like a queen. With no one the wiser, she sneaks right on past and goes free.
enters the lobby from the ladies' lounge and sweeps grandly past the policeman. Once beyond him, she moves quickly across the lobby and exits. A coatless woman runs out of the ladies' lounge and addresses the policeman.
My coat! Someone stole my beautiful red coat!
The policeman blows his whistle and runs after Nance. Nance runs into an alley, stops, looks about nervously. The police whistle is heard. Nance runs to Latimer's back door and exits through it. The policeman enters running, stops, looks around puzzled, and the policeman exits. Inside, Latimer in his wheelchair sits in his parlor with his guests, Edward and Henrietta Ramsey. There are coffee cups and a tray with a sugar bowl and cream pot. Latimer has a book in his hand.
I'm afraid we'll have to be going soon, Charles. I have an orphanage board meeting this evening. We're planning an entertainment to raise funds to buy woolens for the children. We'll have a singer from the opera. Oh, it would be frosting on the cake if you could persuade one of your artist friends to come and do some sketches. You know such interesting people, Charles.
I'm happy to make some inquiries.
The matron just recently informed us that their supply of winter clothing is woefully inadequate, and at this late date, it's something of an emergency.
You can count on my contribution of... Did you hear something? It sounds like there's someone or something in the kitchen.
Isn't it your housekeeper?
No, it's her afternoon off.
I'll go investigate.
You're very generous, Charles. I'm sure the children will be grateful.
I'm not looking for gratitude. Those children got a raw deal.
Huh. Look what I found in the kitchen.
Let go of her, Edward. I'm sure the young lady can explain her presence in my house.
Well, I must have come into the wrong house. How silly of me. You see, I just started working here. I mean, in another house on the block. Of course, not here exactly. And all the back doors look so very similar. And I was in such a hurry to get inside, it being so cold out. I do beg your pardon, sir.
I see. Who is your employer, so I can direct you to the right house?
Mrs. Merson? They just moved in. I don't suppose you've met them yet.
I'll look forward to making their acquaintance. As long as you're here, though, would you be good enough to bring us a plate of cookies? The cookie jar is just inside the pantry door.
Of course I will.
Your contributions will be put to good use, Charles. Would you read one more verse before we go?
While Latimer reads, Nance, now wearing an apron, returns with a plate of cookies and listens to the poetry enchanted.
With pleasure, Henrietta. Ah, love, could thou and I with faith conspire to grasp this sorry scheme of things entire? Would not we shatter it to bits, and then remold it nearer to the heart's desire?
Edward takes out a small flask and pours a liberal amount of liquor into his coffee cup.
Edward, I wish you wouldn't.
If wishes were horses. Latimer?
No, thank you. The grape that can with logic absolute the 2 and 70 jarring sex confute, the subtle alchemist that in a trice life's laden metal into gold transmute. How sweet is mortal sovereignty, think some, others, how blessed the paradise to come. Ah, take the cash in hand and wave the rest. Oh, the brave music of a distant drum.
There is a knock at the door.
Edward, will you see who's at the door, please? Perhaps this young lady's employer is looking for her.
Edward goes to the door and admits a policeman.
Good afternoon, Sergeant.
Melvin.
Sorry. 51.
Sorry, Mr. Latimer, I didn't realize you had guests. Mr. Ramsey, Mrs. Ramsey.
It's really time we were leaving anyway, Sergeant. Don't mind us. We can see ourselves out, Charles.
Nice seeing you, Latimer.
And thank you again for your generosity to the orphans.
Now, Sergeant, how may I help you?
I'm looking for a female thief who ran off in this direction. About this tall, wearing a red coat that isn't hers, and she might be holding a gentleman's watch.
No, I haven't seen anyone like that, but I'll keep an eye out.
We can't be too careful. I don't think I've met your new housekeeper.
This is Miss Omar. My secretary.
Your secretary wears an apron.
It's my housekeeper's afternoon off. Miss Omar was good enough to assist while I had guests. She's versatile, you see.
Well then, Miss Omar, the guests are gone, so it must be time for you to be leaving too. I'd be happy to escort you if you'll go and get your coat.
Oh, no, Sergeant. I'm afraid I can't spare Miss Omar just yet. One of the results of my affliction is that my vision grows weaker as the day progresses. Miss Omar reads to me when my eyes are tired. We were just about to begin. I'm sure you wouldn't want to deprive an invalid of a bit of poetry.
Poetry?
Yes.
Latimer hands Nance the book, upside down.
Read, please.
Now?
Now.
Nance holds the book upside down for a long moment as she looks from Latimer to the policeman and back to Latimer. She turns the book over very slowly, drawing out the moment, and opens it to a middle page. She assumes a queenly air and begins to read.
After a momentary silence spake, some vessel of a more ungainly make. They sneer at me for leaning all awry. What, did the hand then of the potter shake? Whereat someone of the loquacious lot, I think a Sufi pumpkin, waxing hot. All this of pot and potter, tell me then, who is the potter, pray, and who the pot?
Satisfied, Sergeant? She reads quite nicely, don't you think?
Oh yes, very nicely. I'll watch the street for a while in case the thief is still somewhere nearby. Have a pleasant evening.
Sit down. We need to have a talk. Am I in your way? Did you leave your coat hanging on a peg in my kitchen, perchance? I don't think it would be wise for you to go out the front door wearing a red coat just now. It is red, isn't it? And I suppose the lining is also red. You might abandon the coat, of course, but as you yourself pointed out, it's very cold outside. Good. Now, if I didn't know how meticulous my housekeeper is, I might be inclined to wonder if she left the back door unlocked. Her employment might be in jeopardy. Was that your intention?
I didn't think.
You didn't think about how your actions might affect someone else. Is that it? It's a habit you might want to cultivate.
What is this book?
How deftly you changed the subject. As you wish. This book was written about 900 years ago by a Persian mathematician. I'm sorry, but I can't let you keep this particular copy. It was inscribed to me by a dear friend who is now deceased, so it's very precious to me. But you're welcome to come read to me another time. Tell me, where did you learn to read so well?
At the charity orphanage, but all we ever read was Pilgrim's Progress and stories about that insipid little goody-goody Elsie Dinsmore. I never knew there were books like this.
Our dutiful sergeant is still out front. I'll let you out the back way, but first I have to insist that you return my letter opener.
Nance takes Latimer's letter opener from her boot and hands it to him.
Thank you.
What's your graft anyway? When your friends were here, Miss Dowager Diamonds and her nosy husband, and the man in the uniform, why the devil did you make believe that I was on the up and up?
Before I came to sit in this wheelchair day and night, year in and year out, I was a trial lawyer. I'm still a lawyer, of course, only now I advise people about contracts. My work isn't wholly without interest. Many of my clients are artists and theater people, but I find this life altogether too sedate for my taste. I take pleasure in a bit of excitement, and I've developed an affinity for the underdog.
And what if I didn't know how to read? What then?
Then you would have been compelled to leave with the sergeant.
So your affinity doesn't extend to underdogs who haven't been taught reading.
Apparently, I will have to ponder my prejudices.
Well, go right ahead and ponder. I'm leaving.
There is one thing before you go. I believe you have a gentleman's watch in your possession. I've got to have it. You know, to send back to its rightful owner. If I possibly can, I don't mind helping a person who's gotten herself into a scrape. but I can't let her get away with her plunder without being that kind of person myself, so...
Nance is suddenly frightened. Her hand goes to the place where the watch is hidden in her clothing. She shakes her head vigorously.
If it's a matter of privacy...
No, it's nothing.
I take it you have an accomplice. Ha. He'll be angry if you return empty-handed. Perhaps angry enough to hurt you?
He wouldn't.
Oh, I think he would. Your fear belies your words. Very well. In the interest of your safety, I withdraw my request. I'm sure my advice is unwelcome, but I think it's unwise to keep company with someone who frightens you.
I can look out for myself. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night then, Miss Omar. Until next time.
On the vaudeville stage, Fred enters.
A song about stolen property.
Two teenage boys stand at a shop counter arguing with a fence. The items described in the first stanza are on the counter.
A pair of ladies' gloves, a locket on a chain, a basket that some foolish girl abandoned on the morning train.
I'm being very generous to give you 30 cents. The gloves are worn, the basket's frayed. The locket has some ugly dents.
It isn't right, it isn't fair. These things are worth at least $1. However, will we lift ourselves above this life of sin and squalor?
30 cents. Take it or leave it.
The boys take the coins and exit. A landlord enters.
Good morning, Mrs. Brown. The rent is overdue.
I haven't got the cash to pay. This locket now belongs to you.
The fence hands the locket over to the landlord. The landlord goes to a bar where the bartender hands him a drink. The landlord pays and a prostitute enters.
Come here where I can see. You're looking very nice. Let's go enjoy a bit of sport. This locket here will pay your price.
The landlord puts the locket around the prostitute's neck. The landlord and the prostitute exit. A policeman enters. The prostitute and the landlord re-enter, with the landlord buttoning up his pants. The landlord sees the policeman and hurriedly exits. The policeman approaches the prostitute.
I'm making an arrest, unless you can explain just how it is you came to have that pretty locket on a chain.
Saintly mother passed away, and this is what she left to me.
Soliciting immoral acts. This locket here will pay your fee.
The prostitute gives the locket to the policeman, and the policeman puts it in his coat pocket.
It isn't right, it isn't fair. My honest work procured that locket. You're nothing but a common thief to put my necklace in your pocket.
The policeman holds up a set of handcuffs.
Maybe like these bracelets.
The prostitute exits, and the policeman addresses the bartender.
My wife will scold when I get home. You're late again. She will complain. I'll calm her with a little gift. A pretty locket on a chain.
The teen boys enter, one carrying a basket with gloves in it, and pick the policeman's coat pocket. The fence enters, and the teen boys go to the shop counter.
A pair of ladies' gloves, a locket on a chain, a basket that some foolish girl abandoned on the evening train.
Tom is in an alley, smoking and pacing when Nance enters.
What took you so long? I was worried you got pinched.
Nance Olden pinched? How could you think such a thing about a girl in a red wool coat with a chinchilla collar? Why, next thing you know, I'll be wearing ladies' grays diamonds and we'll be on a ship bound for Paris.
Where is it?
In France.
Devil, give me the watch.
Oh, that old thing.
Oh, it's a beauty. Now tell me how you came by that fancy coat.
Oh, I went to the ladies' lounge to get away from a policeman who looked much too interested, and there it was, hanging on a peg right next to my ratty old coat, and oh, Tom, what could I do but slip into this beauty while that fool girl who owned it sat there prinking in front of the mirror? Oh, and Tommy, you're never gonna believe it, but I ended up hiding in a rich man's house. It's got one of those locks like you showed me that a baby could open, and he gets about in a wheelchair.
Did you find that place again?
Of course, but...
But what, Nance? Come on, let's get out of the cold and go to supper.
Oh, you remembered.
Don't ever say I don't know how to show you a good time. We'll just stop in at Mother Dowdy's and see what she'll give us for this little beauty. And that coat, too.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. You stand out too much in a red coat like that. You're too...
Conspicuous?
We'll get you an ordinary coat.
Yes, Tom. But someday I'll have a coat just like this one. I'll be as elegant as Lady Grey in the vaudeville show.
Sure, Nance. Someday.
On the vaudeville stage, Lady Grey is decked out in all her jewels. A very large pink diamond on a chain is the center of all her finery. The vaudevillian performers are dressed as English ladies and lords.
A song about Lady Grey and her famous diamonds.
When Lady Grey goes out to walk, the people gawk. They stop and gaze. The little birdies in the sky forget to fly, for they are in a daze. The silver moon up in the sky says, my oh my, she shines so bright. And up above, the very sun says, I'm outdone, for she gives off more light. How they sparkle and glow from her head to her toe, how their radiance dazzles the eye. And to count all her jewels, we do not have the tools. There's so many, it's pointless to try. The accountants say, whoa, we will just never know, 'cause there isn't a number that high. When Lady Grey went up to town to see the king and kiss his ring, she wore her finest gown. The king did say,
To my dismay, you're causing me to frown. Take off your dress, that is, unless you wish to leave, for I perceive you're brighter than my crown.
how they sparkle and glow from her head to her toe, how their radiance dazzles the eye. And to count all her jewels, we do not have the tools. There's so many, it's pointless to try. The accountants say, whoa, we will just never know, 'cause there isn't a number that high.
Night. Tom and Nance are in the dark alley behind Latimer's house. Tom carries a small bag.
We'll blow it all in. We'll spend a week at the Waldorf, and then, Tom Dorgan, we'll go to Paris. I want a red coat like that dear one that we sold. Oh, and a low-neck satin gown.
Quiet,
and
Nance.
Tommy, are you sure about this? He's a cripple.
Don't start that again. You just do like I say. Anything can happen with a job like this. You never know. It's different from lifting.
Yes, Tommy. But when we're done, I want a silk petticoat with lace and a chain with rhinestones.
Quiet. Let me get to work on that lock.
Well, I'm so fidgety that I have to talk or I'll shriek.
Well, you'll shut up all this saying, you hear me? Look here, Nance, are you gonna flunk? Say it now, yes or no?
Tom Dorgan, I'll bet your own teeth chattered the first time you went in for a thing like this. I'm all right. You'll squeal before I do.
I will see about that.
While Nance waits, Tom goes up Latimer's back stairs and picks the lock. He opens the door and enters Latimer's house, which is in darkness, making his way to the bedroom. Nance waits in the alley for a moment. There are distant noises, fairy whistles, the roar of an elevated subway train. Nance starts to run away, stops, turns back, and runs up Latimer's back steps. She follows Tom into Latimer's bedroom, where the lights come up, and Latimer is sitting up in bed with a pistol in his hands pointed at Tom, who is standing at the foot of the bed.
Damn it, Nance. Don't just stand there. Knock the gun out of his hand.
If you do it, he will kill me. Don't you understand? And both of you will get a charge of murder.
You mean to do him dreadful harm, murder?
Do it, Nance. Do what I say.
The police are on their way. I've sounded the alarm.
didn't tell me that he had a gun.
I didn't know.
Listen to me, Nance.
That whistle says it's time to go. We've got to run.
Don't hesitate or we will lose our chance.
Your friend is nothing but a worthless bum. Don't throw away your life for him. Get out of here before they come.
You can't get by without me, Nance. You won't survive if I get pinched. You wrecked the plan, you stupid chump. We could have took him if you hadn't flinched.
Goodbye, Tom.
Nance disappears and 2 policemen appear.
Put him in the handcuffs.
All right, buddy, let's go.
Wait for me, Nance. I'll be back. Caught. Caught. They will lock me away like a beast in a cage. Will I ever again see the light of day? Will I live in chains till my hair turns gray? No. No. I will not submit. I will not obey. I am not a mouse. I'm a beast of prey. I will snarl and rage till there's hell to pay.
Miss Omar, are you still here? They're gone. Helping you is proving rather unrewarding.
So why?
Why? Why give you a second chance? In order to ensure myself another of your most interesting visits, I suppose. Tell me, is there anything I can do for you? Aren't you sick of this kind of life?
What's that to you?
To me, I'm that luckless pot marred in the making, but you're full of promise. Like the saucy pipkin and free to make your own destiny. Will you read to me a bit before you go?
As you say. Come, fill the cup, and in the fire of spring, the winter garment of repentance fling. The bird of time has but a little way to fly, and lo, the bird is on the wing.
The next morning, Nance enters Mother Doughty's pawn shop.
Is that all you got? Just the cigarette lighter? Well, that's a good one. I'll give you $1 for it. So where's your pretty boy today, Miss Nance? Got himself nabbed? I don't suppose you'd like to sell me his toolkit.
No.
Let me see that brooch.
Tom gave me that brooch. It's not for sale.
Sure it is. Hand it over. Don't be stupid.
Nance gives her the brooch.
Not bad. Give you $4.
Tom paid $50 for it.
Did he now?
Those are real amethysts.
No, dearie, those are rhinestones. Good ones, very convincing, but an expert like me can tell.
Tommy was so sure they were real.
He got duped. Take the money and find yourself another fingersmith to work with.
Well, Tom will kill me if I sell that brooch.
Your Tommy boy's a goner.
He'll be back.
Sure he will. Well, here you go. $3.50.
But you said...
Ah, you misheard me, darling.
Give me back my brooch.
You won't get a better price.
I told you it's not for sale.
You got a lot to learn, dearie.
Nance exits Mother Doughty's and walks along a downtown street. Large posters advertising Lady Grey at Obermuller's Vaudeville are pasted on a wall near the Macy's window.
How will I get by on my own? From the day I left the charity, my life with Tommy is the only thing I've ever known. What will I do? What will I go? I guess I'll go on lifting. It's the only way to make a living that I know. share a little secret, like a whisper on the lips of sisters, for they know that nothing can fill me with delight, like that rose among the diamonds Lady Grey wears, that precious thing that sparkles on her bosom every night. Oh, to take it out and soak it, treasures begging to be sold. Oh, what a fortune it would bring, enough to keep me till I'm old. Passing by the Macy's window, passing by the rags and baubles, now I see nothing can compare. That diamond, how it haunts me, it seduces me, it taunts me, singing, come and take me if you dare.
The Vaudeville Theater backstage hallway. It's dark. Nance, a shadowy figure in her dark coat, moves about silently. An electric light is suddenly switched on.
May I help you?
I'm here to audition.
Do you have an appointment with someone?
I do, with Mr. Obermuller.
Mr. Obermuller. Are you sure you have the right day? We don't usually hold auditions on Tuesdays.
Oh, could it be I've mixed up the dates maybe? Or maybe I'm supposed to be across the street at the Grand?
Now, why would they go to the trouble of holding auditions at the Grand when they can resort to the simple expedient of poaching performers away from other theaters? You might be shocked to hear that there are people in this world who think it's perfectly all right to help themselves to what doesn't belong to them. But I don't suppose you would know anything about that.
What I do know is that it's everybody's graft to take all he can get and keep out of jail. I expect it's Mr. Obermuller's too. How else did he get to own this magnificent theater with red velvet curtains and electric lights and all the people dropping their nickels in the box and crowding in every day to watch Lady Grey parade around in her jewels? You can't expect me to believe that it was through honest work.
I'm afraid I've been remiss about introductions. You see, I'm the very fellow you have chosen to revile. But owning such a building, I'm afraid that's not my style. I manage these theatricals, the profit isn't great. I do my best to pay the bills, alas, I'm often late. But I'm keeping out of prison, and it's really not a threat. For we long ago abolished imprisonment for debt.
Appearances betray you. Your pinky ring is gold. Your tie is silk. Your studs are pearl. Don't say it isn't so.
Appearance is deceptive, as I suspect you know. The pinky ring's inherited, the rest is here for show. The audience prefers to think I earn a decent wage. You realize illusion is the hallmark of the stage. Now we're halfway to acquaintance. I've given you my name. Kindly have the courtesy to let me know the same.
Oh, you're mighty smart, ain't you, Mr. Manager? You stand here and sneer like you're better than me. Makes you feel awfully cocky, don't it? Oh, what a big man I am!
And your name would be?
My name is Nancy Olden, from the Charity for Orphans. I was put there as a baby, and I didn't even know there was such a thing as families, till another girl explained it. Oh, she was a sad one, made me thank my lucky stars I never had one. The smallest little boy, he was black and blue all over. His father had attempted to gouge out both his eyes. They put him in a dress. It was the only thing that fit him. There was nothing else his size. Another boy was crippled, all lopsided and twitchy. He would jerk around the room like this, and all of us would stand around and cheer. Oh, go ahead and laugh. He isn't here. ladies who amuse themselves by giving unto others. The matron told us, chickies, you may act as sweet as honey. Make those ladies feel as if they were your mothers. Those patronizing ladies with their purses full of money. I knew how to get to them. And in my pious sing-song.
Well, let's hear a bit of that pious sing-song. You're here to audition, remember?
My faith looks up to thee, thou Lamb of Calvary, Savior divine. Now hear me while I pray. Take all my guilt away. Let me from this day be wholly thine.
You do make it sound very heartfelt. A person might almost think you were sincere. Now maybe something a little livelier, something you've heard from a show.
I am Captain Jinx of the Horse Marines. I often live beyond my means.
And sport young ladies in their teens. You got it! There's no one in Manhattan who has an eye like mine. You've got a natural talent that I think I could refine. Come on by tomorrow, we are gonna write a skit about the antics of the orphanage. It's sure to be a hit.
You want to laugh at orphans?
There's nothing people enjoy quite so much as someone else's misery. How old are you?
21?
And I'm Thomas Edison. Tell me something I can allow myself to believe.
18.
Good. I'll give you a chance as one of the charity girls.
Me?
You want it?
On stage like Lady Grey. God, do I want it.
Well then, here's a backstage pass. I'll see you tomorrow. And Miss Holden, if so much as a hat pin goes missing from this theater, you're done.
Why, Mr. Obermuller, I have no idea what you're talking about. La 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 la, that's the life in the army.
Backstage Obermuller's Vaudeville Theater the next day. Fred is talking with Betty.
That new girl I hired, she'll be here any minute. She's got raw talent, but absolutely no training. I want you to take her under your wing.
Sure.
And let me know if there's any trouble. Miss Holden, this is Betty Blackburn. You'll be sharing a dressing room with her. I'll let her show you around. Keep in mind, I run a clean show. I don't allow profanity or suggestive jokes, not even backstage. And no private entertainments with the customers. I'll get some play scripts for you to read, and then we'll talk about your salary. Oh, and pay attention to Betty. You can learn a lot from her. She's one of the most accomplished performers in vaudeville. Don't be modest. Everyone admires you.
He's good to work for, but he can be a stickler. Look, I can't help but admire me. Even Ginger, the errand boy, he's crazy about me. I'd never take up with him, of course. He's only a child. Look, you'll get to know everyone around here pretty quick. Constance and Maggie are next to us, then Gray. Her ladyship has a private dressing room.
Lady Grey, she's just down this hallway?
She's not there now. Her act's just ending. I think she's about to take her bow.
A real English lady right down the hall.
Well, she's as real a lady as the wife of a lord can be. Lord Harold Gray's a sure enough lord, and she's his wife, but she's just a chippy, same as us.
No.
She was a chorus girl when she nabbed Lord Harold.
A chorus girl has the rose diamond?
Yep.
Oh, you'd better keep your eye on Nance Olden then. I just might marry Tsar Nicholas and deck myself out in the crown jewels of Russia.
Ginger enters from one direction and Grey from the other. Lady Grey is decked out in a dazzling array of glittering jewels with a large pink diamond on a chain outshining them all. Grey carries a huge bouquet of long-stemmed roses, which she thrusts at Ginger. He takes them but doesn't move.
What's wrong with you? Go put these in the icebox. Stupid boy. Who's this?
She's Nance. Fred just hired her.
How do you do? I'm thrilled to meet This is my first theatrical job.
Well, in case you were thinking there might be a shortcut to the top in this theater, just think again. Mr. Obermuller doesn't mix with the actresses, does he, Betty? Fred Obermuller may be the only man who's ever turned her down.
Alas, I'm only 99% irresistible.
Fred enters carrying a few booklets which he hands to Nance.
Some plays for you to read. Better yet, go see as many plays as you can. Not just vaudeville. Go see the legit stuff, the classics. Go see Hamlet at the Victoria. And the new stuff too, Shaw, Oscar Wilde. All of it has something to teach you. I'll get you some comp tickets and we'll get to work on that act about the orphanage.
Max Tausig enters. He's middle-aged and well-dressed.
Obermuller?
Who let you in? I don't have anything to say to you that I haven't said before. Get out of my theater.
Let's go talk in your office.
I have a better idea. Let's not.
Very well, if you don't mind discussing business in front of...
Oh, pardon me, I don't think we've been introduced.
Why, Olden, don't you know a representative of the mighty theatrical trust when you see him? Can't you see the syndicate aureole about his noble brow? This gentleman is the great and only Max Tausig. He who humbleth the exalted and uplifteth the lowly, or if there's more money in it, he gives to him that hath and steals from him that haven't.
You've always been over-fond of your low comedian jokes, Obermuller. If you weren't so smart with your tongue, you'd have more friends and not so many enemies.
On rare occasions, he even attempts to buy what he can't steal. Do give it up, Tausig. I'm not selling.
Is this what you really want? To spend the rest of your life running this crummy little joint?
It's my heart's fondest desire. Now get out.
Oh, you are a promising writer. I can't think how you'll ever find the time to put pen to paper again.
Your concern for my literary future is deeply touching. Leave!
We haven't concluded our business.
I wouldn't expect you to understand the concept of honor, but I promised my stepfather I'd keep this theater in the family. I intend to keep my word.
You're a fool, Obermuller. Your stepfather was a cheap huckster, a purveyor of smut and curiosities. You're throwing away your talent for a two-bit burlesque house.
I run a clean show.
You'll soon be running it with fewer performers. Isn't that the golden voice of Jimmy Hennessy we're enjoying right now? Hasn't he told you? He's opening for me on Friday.
Jimmy's leaving?
You son of a bitch!
I simply offered him a bit more than you're paying. There's a man who knows which side his bread is buttered on. Happily, not everyone is encumbered by your crippling sense of honor. I wouldn't be surprised if some of your other performers were similarly inclined.
Out!
Oh, you know where to find me.
As long as it isn't here.
What's the Theatrical Trust?
It's a group of theatrical managers in various cities who are trying to control all the vaudeville shows and performers. I have incurred the almighty wrath of Max Tausig and his familiars by refusing to join. So he's trying to buy me out, as I expect you may have surmised. Olin, I have some ideas about the orphanage number. Go take a look at the notebook on my desk. I'll be there in a couple minutes. As they say, money talks.
Money talks and someone walks.
That won't be the end of it. Trust me, he'll be back for more. The Pirelli brothers, Angelo, Gray, you.
I wouldn't give him the time of day.
You haven't heard his offer yet. Betty, you think I'm crazy? Trying to hold on to this?
Not if it's what you really want.
You always make me feel better.
On the vaudeville stage, Fred enters.
The Lady Patroness visits the charity orphanage.
The Lady Patroness enters in all her bejeweled finery. The matron enters, followed by orphans who are dressed as little girls with ribbons in their hair. The matron herds them into a line, and the patroness holds a handkerchief to her nose as she studies them.
They're parading us before you. We are ever so polite. With our hair done up in ribbons, you will weaken at the sight. You provide our food and clothing, so we don't display our loathing and undermine our happy little show. Remember that the more you give, the more you feel that saintly glow.
Nance enters in a horrible red She's dressed like the others, but she's dirty and much more bedraggled. Her stockings are falling down, hair ribbons untied, etc. She makes an elaborate curtsy to the matron, and we hear the audience's stamps and whistles.
We are cleaned and scrubbed and polished till we make a pretty sight. We're admonished not to fidget or to scratch or kick or bite.
And they've hidden all the babies who have runny eyes or scabies. We've been told 100 times we must wait for you to leave before we wipe our runny little noses on our sleeve.
Your benevolence is limitless and great. You provide the very food upon our plate.
We would never be so cruel as to make you eat this gruel, for that would be a naughty thing to do. Oh, they serve it every day. It is thin and cold and gray, and as we spoon it up, we think of you.
Thank you, lady patroness, thank you for giving us this love. First you be queen. There is nothing so beguiling as a little orphan smiling.
Unless her papa busted up her teeth.
There is no one you will meet who is even half as sweet or as grateful as a little orphan child, nor as innocent and pure. Yes, of this you may be sure.
Assuming that she hasn't been defiled.
Thank you, lady patroness. Think, think, think. Don't forget to hurry to the bank, bank, bank.
Thank you, lady patroness, thank you. Go home and count the jewels around your neck.
We can see there's quite a few, so here's what you need to do.
Just add another 0 to your check.
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 There's appreciative noise. Ginger runs up and gives Nance a huge bouquet of long-stemmed roses and steps forward and takes another bow. Backstage, the vaudeville performers in costume from the previous scene come and go. The sound of applause and whistles continues.
She upstaged me, your little pet,
What word are you looking for, Gray?
How dare you play such a trick, Fred Obermuller? I'm the lady patroness. That act is supposed to be all about me. I was never treated so badly in my life to have that dirty little wretch come tumbling out like that without even so much as telling me you'd made up all that business for her. It's indecent anyway. I won't stand for it.
It's Olden's act, and you will stand for it.
We'll see about that.
Well, Olden, seems the audience likes the sound of your voice almost as much as you do yourself. I just got a call from a reporter at the X-Ray, wants an interview along with an artist to make sketches of you. We'll get a half-baked article at least. Just goes to show Fred Obermuller knows how to pick 'em. I knew it. I knew you had it. I'm gonna write a play for you. A full-length play, not just a little vaudeville skit. Didn't I make it clear that you're not welcome here?
I didn't come to see you. Clever little girl, how much do you stick Obermuller for?
Clever little man, none of your business.
Olden, answer the gentleman prettily. Along with being the mastermind of the infamous theatrical trust, Mr. Taussig manages the Grand Theater, the one right across the street. For all practical purposes, for one in your profession, Nancy Olden, he's just God. Down on your knees and lick his boots and thank him for permitting it, you lucky baggage. Don't be too quick to dismiss his offer.
You mustn't give the young woman a big head, Obermuller. I am prepared to make any startling offer to the little girl that's just barely got her nose above the wall. But we'll give her a chance. And because of what it may lead to, if she works hard, there ain't so much in it in a money way as you might imagine. She may be worth something to you measured up against the dubs you've got, but to us...
To you, it's not so much your having her as my not having her.
Exactly. Just how much is your interest in her worth?
Only a 6-year contract.
Well, you're an even bigger fool than I thought, Obermuller. Good day.
What's your game, Olden? You holding out for higher stakes? Do you expect him to buy that imaginary 6-year contract and divvy up the proceeds with me? Because once he's got his eye on you, he'll have you. And to turn up your nose at his offer is just the way to make him itch for you.
But how the deuce did you know that? And where did you get your nerve from anyway? A little beggar like you to refuse an offer from the theatrical trust and sit hatching your little schemes on your little $12 a week. I'll have to give you a raise now, I suppose. And I'm afraid it won't be much, but I might be able to get you some outside work, private parties and the like. You interested?
Of course I am. But why aren't you in the trust, Mr. Obermuller?
Why aren't you in society, Nance?
Well, society's prejudiced against lifting. But that trust is a great craft, Mr. Obermuller. Lifting wholesale. Why don't you get in?
Because a trust is a lot of sailors on a raft who keep their places by kicking off the drowning hands that clutch at it. Can you fancy a fellow like Max Tausig stooping down to help me tenderly on board to divide the pickings?
No, but I fancy you grappling with him till he'd be glad to take you on rather than be pulled down himself.
I think you heard me tell Max Tausig that my stepfather started this vaudeville company, and I promised him I'd keep it going. My stepfather raised me. I wasn't his, but he didn't care. My mother, well, let's just say my stepfather wasn't a judgmental man. Do you understand? He was kind to everyone. So, no, I don't think I'll be getting on board with Max Tausig. But I suppose you'd be in with the push, wouldn't you, Olden, if you were me?
I'd be at the top, wherever that was.
And why the deuce didn't you jump at Tausig's offer?
I am artiste, monsieur. I must have about me those who are,
You monkey. Then when Tausig comes to buy out your contract...
We'll tell him to go to thunder. That theatrical trust should be a crime.
You've hit the nail on the head, Holden. There's a rumor, a creditable rumor, I might add, I think, that Max Tausig has an illegal agreement with some theatrical managers in Philly and Chicago. I'd love to get my hands on that piece of paper. Have you heard of the Sherman Antitrust Act?
On the vaudeville stage, the four swaggering millionaires are on stage. They're dressed as rich dandies with big stuffed bellies and cigars. They shake hands and pat each other on the back. Uncle Sam enters, and Betty enters dressed as a rich gentleman.
A song about wealthy men.
Mr. Carnegie, Mr. Rockefeller, Mr. Morgan, and Mr. Vanderbilt, tell me the secret of your success.
In business it is simple to make it to the top. It's quite a nice advantage to have the only shop. The buyers can't go elsewhere because there are no other firms. The same goes for suppliers. They have to meet our terms. If any competition should move them down the street, we ruthlessly destroy them. We drive them to defeat. We lower all our prices till they have to lower theirs. And when they hit the bottom, we buy up all their shares. We bought up all the factories, the steamships and the trains. We're captains of industry, we're counting up our gains. You may not like our methods, you may disapprove our schemes, but we're rich, rich, rich as creases. Rich beyond our wildest dreams.
Listen carefully to what I say. I do not like the cutthroat game you play. The deck is so unfairly stacked, I give you gentlemen the Sherman Act.
The Sherman Act.
Monopolies and trust must be divested, and those who don't comply will be arrested. Restraint of trade is now a crime. You'll pay a hefty fee and do some time.
It's a felony. I find you guilty, guilty, guilty.
The policeman chains up the millionaires with a gray paper chain. The millionaires hang their heads and shuffle their feet. Then Uncle Sam turns his back, and the millionaires revive. They raise their arms and break their paper chains. They open up their stuffed bellies and pull out handfuls of paper money, which they fling up in the air.
We have some clever lawyers, we know some judges too. They're looking for the loopholes, they're good at what they do. We're sure to be successful. It's simple, so take heed. We crush the competition and leave them there to bleed. Ho, 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 ho.
Backstage, Nance passes Lady Grey, who is decked out in her jewels, in the hallway. Nance enters her dressing room where Betty is doing vocal exercises.
Why does Lady Grey's husband let her go on stage with all those precious things?
Well, you see, it's this way. Lord Harold Grey's bankrupt. Well, isn't that funny? He's as poor as, well, me. But he's got the Grey family jewels, all right, for as long as he lives. Nary a one can he sell, though. After his death, they go to the next Lord Grey. Some English law. So those jewels make a living for him. Since they can't go on and exhibit themselves, Lady Grey sports them and she draws down $200 a week because of those jewels.
200?
Yep, 200. But her fancy lord husband takes it all to Saratoga Springs and throws it away on the ponies as fast as she can earn it.
Imagine holding that rose diamond right in your own hand. Well, I suppose that Lady Grey keeps the beauty well guarded.
You might think so. She only has Topham, the fellow who plays the king. Fred, Mr. Obermuller, keeps telling her to hire a guard from Pinkerton's, but oh no, she's far too stingy. She and Topham go way back. He used to have a tap dancing act, but now he just follows her around like a puppy. He lays out all those diamonds for her every time she goes on stage and puts them away in a big jewelry box covered in Russia leather. At night, it all goes into a combination safe.
How much do you suppose those jewels are worth?
Fred says the rose diamond alone is worth at least $50,000.
$50,000? A person who has $50,000 could buy an apartment building. She'd be set up for life. Well, that is if she could bear to part with that lovely thing. Is he really the only card she's got, Topham, I mean?
It's about the size of it. Fred worries about it, I know.
Doesn't Mr. Topham dance anymore?
No. He has some problem with his knees. He only performs on stage when Grey's wearing her jewels. You're not interested in him, are you?
Heavens, no.
Okay, yeah, he's a strange one. He just sits there in her dressing room helping her on and off with those jewels however many times a day while she changes in and out of her costumes. You'd think the poor man would get tired of seeing her in her corset cover when he knows that's all he's ever gonna get. But I suppose hope springs eternal. You know, if you ask me, there's something off-kilter about the whole arrangement. But you didn't ask me. Look, I'm going dancing with the violinist after the show. You wanna come along? I could fix you up with one of the men in the band.
No thanks.
You got someone?
Sure.
Well, then ask him to come along. Make it a foursome.
He's away.
Next time, then.
He'll be gone for 2 years. He's a captain in the army.
Oh, poor thing. But you must be so proud of him. Hey, why don't you write to him? He's sure to be missing you.
Nance pulls an ostrich feather out of a hat and begins composing an airy letter.
And a letter to Tom? My dearest Tom, I have some happy news that I'm just bursting to relate. Would you believe I'm working at the vaudeville right next to Lady Grey? It must be fate. I could take that treasure now, but I believe that I'll postpone it till a later date. I'm starring in a skit about the charity. But wait, oh, it's not polite to start writing about yourself like that, Nance. You should begin a letter by inquiring about the person you're addressing. What would a Vanderbilt say? My dearest Tom, how are you doing there? I hope this letter finds you well. I have some news to brighten up your mood. I'm singing on the stage while you are locked up in a cell. What's the use? Whatever can I say that won't seem rude? And truth to tell, a simple missive breeds.
Hold it. I've started writing that full-length comedy. Come read some scenes with me. You read the part of Rosie. I'll be Mac.
When Sergeant Sullivan finds out we've been sprung, he'll be after us like a cat with a mouse.
He'll find something on us. Leave it to him.
But we'll be on a rattler for Chicago before he can get a warrant.
You got enough kale to carry us till we get there?
Why, no, Mac. I ain't got a cent. I thought you had the sugar.
Me?
Ain't you got no money neither?
I'd be tickled to death to have you search my pockets, but I ain't got enough money to buy a controlling interest in a rotten egg. I sent the first couple of scenes to Henry Richardson at the Jupiter.
And
he says they can't use this play.
Silly of him. Well, did you try the Athenian?
They don't want it either.
Oh, you'll have the last laugh, Mr. O. This play is a corker.
I know it. It'll be a big hit when I can find the right producer. Finally be able to pay my debts. Where were we?
I gotta go out and get some money.
Oh, right. I gotta go out and get some money.
But Mac, you promised me!
I don't mean to rob anybody, I mean to borrow it. I'll knock a guy down, strip him of his leather, get his name and address, and when we get to Chicago, I'll get it back to him.
Oh, no, that won't do.
Why not?
You might forget his address.
Oh, we'll make such a hit, Holden. You and the play both. Oh, when pigs fly. Oh, I've been such an ass about this play. No producer in New York is going to touch it. Max Tausig has them all quaking in their boots.
But you can't give up now.
It looks like he's got my back against the wall.
Then let's do it here.
This is a vaudeville theater, not a place for a full-length play. People want variety.
No, it's a comedy. They'll love it. Once word gets out, you'll have people lining up around the block to see it.
You really think so?
Well, you'll never know unless you try it.
I don't know.
Lights up on the backstage hallway and dressing rooms. Gray, decked out in her jewels, enters her dressing room where Topham is reading the newspaper. During this next song, Gray takes off her jewelry and hands each piece to Topham, who places it carefully in a large jewelry box. Topham then puts the jewelry box in a safe and closes the safe.
The police raided the Turkish bath at the Ariston Hotel and arrested 34 men.
I saw Betty leaving with Angelo. I swear she's dated every man in this show.
Not me.
Well, of course not you. Where's my purple boa?
You haven't seen it.
I'll bet that new girl took it.
In Fred's office, Betty, dressed in a man's suit, is sitting on the corner of Fred's desk reading the script of Fred's new play.
What do you think?
It's good. It's very good.
Madame, I blush. But do you think our audience would sit through it? They're used to shorter acts.
I'll give that a resounding yes.
All right. We'll do it right here at Obermuller's Vaudeville. What have I got to lose? No, don't answer that. A toast.
Lights up on all the vaudeville performers in their various dressing rooms. They put on their coats and winter wraps.
It's winter, the icy wind blows up from the river. We bundle up inside our coats and shiver. It's brutally cold.
Brutally cold.
Brutally cold.
In their dressing room, Ginger and Wilson hang up their coats.
It's like a photograph projected on a big screen, but the people actually move.
In the hallway, the magician Angelo conjures a bunch of flowers and hands them to Betty. In their dressing room, Constance and Maggie undress each other. In Gray's dressing room, Topham is reading the newspaper again.
President Roosevelt signed the Anarchist Exclusion Act.
Fred enters the hallway and by gesture asks Betty to dance. She puts down her flowers and they do an impromptu dance. It's a moment of repressed passion. When they break apart, Fred bows to Betty and she picks up the flowers.
Anyone special?
Oh, Fred, don't.
In their dressing room, Constance and Maggie play with the purple boa and stroke each other.
It's nothing like my mama said.
In the hallway, Angelo enters holding his magician's hat in his hand.
That damn rabbit's escaped again.
Would you like to go with me to Luna Park tomorrow?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jacob. I'm planning to go to hear Emma Goldman speak at Cooper Union.
Angelo's got some Bernie.
fluid dirigible across France all by herself.
Sounds of pleasure from Constance and Maggie. In Gray's dressing room, Papa puts down his newspaper.
49 Jews were murdered in Russia.
Springtime, it's springtime. We come in from the street all wet and dripping. In spite of the umbrellas ever dripping. It's woefully wet.
Woefully wet.
Woefully wet.
Say, you and Sully, you're not,
Why, Mac, what a thing to say!
Betty leads the vaudeville performers in a vocal warm-up.
Me, 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 me. May, 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 may. Ma, 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 ma. Mo, 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 mo. Moo, 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 mo, moo, 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 moo. Me, may, ma, mo, me, may, ma, mo, moo.
Ginger enters Fred's office and hands Fred a letter.
Mrs. Henrietta Ramsey's giving a party to raise money for the charity orphanage. She's asking me to send someone to entertain her guests. You'd be helping a good cause and earning something extra too. Will you do it?
Oh, yes!
You've heard of Mrs. Ramsey. Her husband must own half the tenement buildings in Manhattan. Mrs. Ramsey's a very kind woman. Just do your DuBarry imitation, make her guests laugh. That sort of thing. Society parties and the like can be very good for your career.
The King and Queen of Serbia were dragged out of their beds and murdered.
Serbia? What is that?
Summer, it's summer. We shouldn't have our clothes when we are sweating.
Max enters and confronts Fred.
I am gonna put you out of business, just in case you were forgetting.
End of Act 1. We will take a short intermission.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I might as well do what everybody else is How are you?
Good. I love this.
My back hurts.
I'm ready for dinner.
I didn't end up eating dinner.
I'm not taking any and I know exactly.
And Chris and Lou have the love of sports in common.
Oh, really?
So,
Just don't look at all my
saying some of the things that Chris said.
Because she and one of the other girls came to see the reading I did last night. Zombie.
Oh, the zombie one. Yes.
It was only 66 pages.
Got it.
But we didn't sing anything.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just read lyrics.
Yeah.
Which I was was like, while we were restoring this first time, or reading through this now, I was like, oh, the first time we did this, we didn't have like any music.
We didn't have all of them. And then the second, and then we had some.
The first time we had like.
We had all the
like the
millionaire
group
stuff was
stuff, like the, or a lot of the group stuff,
yeah.
And then the second time was the Zoom.
Yeah. And we had more, but.
Oh, it was like weird for a second, then it stopped.
Oh, it's so hot. I wish that she would turn the air back on. She went and turned it off right when it kicked on. I was like, no! I was just about to text her and ask her at that time, like, could you please turn it on? Oh my God.
Oh, so my mom is coming
Yes.
this weekend, and next week we're doing the WB studio tour.
Oh, did I get booked with my car? I guess I am.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That does mean I have a different address to go to, though. Okay, I'll have to check that later.
Like my sister.
We're doing
yes.
the WB studio tour.
Oh, fun!
I've never done it.
I just took Danny and we went to it like 3 months ago or something, like 2 months ago. It was
It's like
fun.
one of the few things, like the touristy things I haven't done yet.
Yeah, same.
And
I didn't
my
even
mom
know there was
like,
one for a long
what's
time.
that like? I was like, I don't know. She's
No,
like,
it's
well, which
fun.
one do we want? It's like, I don't know. I was like, do you have Google?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to
Do you have the internet?
Yeah. She was like, well, you suggested it. I was like, I just said, I know there is a WB studio tour.
Yeah.
That's literally the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But then she was like, well, we can go like early on Monday. I was like, no. I was like, Monday will be the minutes after I get home from the cats party.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I was like, I still have to do laundry. So I was like, it's going to have to be later on Monday.
Yeah, for sure.
She's like, 1? I was like, at the earliest.
Oh, I should go with you to that. Well.
Why aren't you out of town?
Oh, well, we come back Sunday night.
Oh.
But we could have dinner Monday. Let's see if we can shoot for that. After you're done.
Yeah, we'll see. If I don't leave her there.
Yeah. Are you getting a sty? Like this sty? Feel this today.
Actually, it's not, he's staying.
Are they from like stress and worry?
No, they're just from.
How do you?
They're just from.
Wait, what?
It's on your top lid if you close it. Maybe not. Let me see. No.
Like where it looks like there's like a cut?
Yeah, maybe that's.
Because I feel like I have a cut there and I feel like I have a cut above.
Why do you have cuts on your eyelids? Why? Why is that happening?
So.
No, why is there even a reason?
Two funny stories.
One for each eye?
Yeah. So back when I was probably in like 2nd or 3rd grade, when I was wearing like glasses, our neighbors in our old house, like I guess they had family in town who had like one of those big like camper trailer things.
Yeah.
An RV.
Right, an RV, like a pirate.
Yeah. So we were playing hide and go seek, and I hit on top of it.
Oh no.
And then I saw them coming, so I was like, oh, I should just jump off. Glasses through the eyelid.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
You're lucky you have your eye.
Yep. The amount shit I've done to my eyes in my life.
Oh my god.
The other one, or no, I think that may be this one. This one, wherever there's a scar, like actually like above my eyes, like underneath my eyebrow.
Yeah.
That was when I was like 3 or 4. You remember Dustbusters?
Yes.
Fucking love a Dustbuster.
Yeah.
So my dad was like dustbusting like the blades of the fan, or whatever, and cleaning, and I decided that I wanted the dustbuster. He was up on the ladder. He put it on that little like the paint
On the
shelf.
thing that's not a stool and
Yeah.
not a step.
And so I was like, I want that one thing.
Oh.
Stitches.
You're smart.
Yeah. There was also one time when I was at a friend's house and we were running through like people's backyards, because that's what you do in the South.
Yeah.
And they had a chain link fence and I went to climb over it, tripped, fell on the chain link fence and fell upside down. It was like,
oh my god. You're a disaster.
Yeah.
You're a disaster.
Like how I've survived to this point, I'll never know. Oh, speaking of like stupid things, we had like when I went to bring Trevor the test last night.
Yeah.
Like,
where does he live? Close to you?
Yeah, he's like on Magnolia and like not quite Fitness with Art.
Okay.
Like
so he's
like
you're
he's got
closer to
between
me.
us. Yeah.
Okay.
Or like between where your old house was.
Yeah.
And so he was starting out, he's like, do you ever go hiking? I was like, oh yeah. I was like, my friend Jude and I actually went hiking, and I like pointed over the direction of Griffith, and I was like,
we actually did that hike once and we almost died.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
But then he was like, well, where else is there to hike? He was like, because you usually drive us like to like actual hiking places. I was like, oh, I was like, would you see like the lights blinking up in the distance?
We hiked there too.
And he was like, you can climb up to that. I was like, absolutely. I was like, it's not a climb. I was like, it's just like a path.
It's a nice path, but coming down at the end of the path.
You might want to die.
Right up there.
And so now I think he and I are going to try and do it at some point.
No, I'm going.
I mean, I feel like it just needs to be a field trip for everyone.
I agree.
But then he was like,
because I want to do it again with you.
Well, and he was like, can we do it before a show? I was like,
no, it's a 6-hour hike.
I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm not as like emaciated as you.
I know, right?
It didn't snow on us, but it was still on us.
It'll blow over a stick wind though.
Oh my God, I should tell my mom. She's like, Mom, bring your walking shoes. She would never survive.
You should.
She would not survive up to that like bench. She wouldn't even survive up to like the
Because
like,
that's the hardest part of the hike is getting to the bench.
Exactly.
And coming down. And
well, yeah, and I would not trust her to come down because she would probably wear like Toms. I was like, that is not a hiking shoe, Susan.
Susan.
That's so great.
That should just be like in like jeans or something.
I love your mom.
She's nuts.
I love her.
A couple extra bucks an hour.
Well, right, yeah, I'm sure.
Are you ready to leave the vows?
I am ready.
Okay.
I have it written in.
Because I leave the vows on something rotten. Yesterday, I completely forgot. I started doing like, I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah. So I sent in an application like a long time ago, and I just kind of forgot about it.
So 5:30. It looks like they booked me with my car though, so that's good.
Yeah. I still need to start watching season 2 of Hacks.
Exactly when I
Yes.
and then I never heard.
So you can get your residuals.
You will not miss me.
Yeah.
You will not miss me. I have a big old reaction to my lesbian girlfriend who makes a snarky comment up at what's her bucket?
Nice.
Yeah, Jean Smart. She says, really, you're not my type or something like that. And then I go,
Like to interview.
can't miss
And you like
it.
squeeze your boobs and Elizabeth Smart or whatever her name is. You're just like,
Yeah, Jean Smart. But yeah, that too.
Get Smart. Whatever her
That
name
too.
is.
And then somebody was making fun because I think I told you that
What
was
if you
when I
become a
wore.
meme?
Yeah, that would be hilarious, by the way. I would love it. I told you that was the day that I was just told that I was a cruise going, right?
Yes.
And I wore a dress and my Birkenstocks, and when I went to costumes, they were like, oh, I love the Birkenstocks. And then I walked away and they're like, oh, by the way, it's a lesbian cruise. And I'm like, so you're saying my Birkenstocks? Okay, I get it. Yeah, sure, okay. Yeah, that's probably right. That's probably right. That's probably right. So now, I was telling that story to one of my other friends.
Our own two-person show. I was like, wait, should we have that?
Yeah, no, we're good. What are we doing? We just did our own two-person show. You missed it.
Yeah, I heard something.
The Philip and Judy show. The Philip and Judy show. No problem. Every show that we're in together. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
I should have bought tickets. So dumb.
Yeah, but basically the problem. Like, Philip, please stop talking.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
That's okay. I didn't leave the album.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I took 30 pages.
Sorry, not my
And I was like, what is this baby?
Are you all set? Ready to go? Welcome back, everybody.
Right here.
And here comes Act 2. Nance's dressing room. She's in her DuBarry costume for Henrietta's party. Tom steps out from behind a screen. He's scruffy and wears ill-fitting clothes.
Tommy, you've escaped.
That's about it. Forgot to say goodbye to them fellows up the pen.
I think I'm frightened.
Oh, the lady fight airs are her. Ain't you gonna faint, Miss Olden?
That's old and faint.
My sister Nora said you'd be here. My Nance, you look good enough to eat. Nobody will come in?
No, the girl I share with, Betty, she's just left on her dinner break.
What's your graft? What have you been doing all this time? Out with it.
Oh, Tommy, I've been to hear the greatest actors in the world say and do the finest things in the world. I've read a new book every night, a great big picture book in which all the pictures move and speak. That's the stage. I know another world now, not just the little world of crooks. It's the world of art and artists.
Cut it, Nance. You've been playing this stupid game and never gave me a thought.
Tommy, that isn't true. I wrote to you every day, but they sent all my letters back. And I took the train up to see you with a basket full of cookies and warm socks that I knitted myself, but they wouldn't let me in.
You think I don't know why you're here? Don't try to tell me you forgot about that diamond necklace of Lady Gray's. I know you better than that. Now's the moment. There's got to be a way. You've been here long enough to find out.
No, Tom.
You'll lift it and we'll scamper.
Tom, listen. Lady Gray has a personal guard who watches over her jewels every minute. Why, he's the biggest, most brutish fellow you ever saw. He used to be the strong man in the Barnum and Bailey circus, and every night he puts one of those jewels in a big safe with a fancy combination lock. And you never showed me how to open one of those, which I suspect is because you don't know yourself.
You going all soft on me? Quit these highfalutin ways. You're gonna make a strike and we'll skedaddle. That diamond's gonna save me from the noose. Don't give me some ridiculous excuse. I knifed a guard escaping from the pen. Sliced the bastard up and left him bleeding. You gotta help me, Nance, 'cause here's the thing. You wouldn't wanna see your Tommy swing. You get that diamond and we'll go to Paris. Like you always wanted. We'll have a flat all to ourselves. We'll eat fancy food, drink wine every day. We'll go to the opera and parler français. We'll never be safe till we're far, far away.
I don't know.
What are you saying? I got the cops after me and you're thinking about some make-believe nonsense. You'll forget about it soon enough if anybody finds out who you really are, what you've done. If you think I won't spill it, you just have yourself another thing.
Tommy!
You just better do just as I say. What I know could land you in the slammer. Believe me, you'll be sorry if I tell. You'll find out what it's like to live in hell.
Excuse me.
Betty, I'd like you to meet my friend, Jack Velour.
How do you do?
Gotta go away for a while. Come back as soon as I can. You do like I said.
Tom grabs the reluctant Nance, holds her in a quick smothering embrace, and kisses her hard.
You never saw me here.
Yeah, Fred wouldn't like it, us having a man visitor, but he'll never hear about it from me.
Don't you forget that.
Want my advice about that one?
No. No, thank you, Betty.
Nance sits down and begins to write a letter. In his parlor, Latimer opens an envelope with his letter opener and reads. Nance steps into the light. Still in her Dubarry costume, she crosses to Henrietta as she sings.
My dear Mr. Latimer, I think you will remember me, the one you called a saucy pipkin. A friend of mine has just returned much sooner than we planned. The one from whom I learned to do a little sleight of hand. I must admit he's given me a scare. He won't let me forget about the life we used to lead. He's made a dreadful threat. He's caught me like a rabbit in a snare. Oh well, I have some better news to tell, so don't despair. I'll put aside my fear and try to send a bit of cheer before my troubles fill the page. I know you will be glad to hear I've taken up a new career. I'm acting on the stage. I do a skit about a scruffy little orphan girl. It's all the rage. You might find this amusing. money she will send to some charity. I often think of you and the verses in that Persian book, how the clay was made unique because the fingers of the potter shook. I hope this letter finds you well. Your friend, Nancy Olden.
Nance arrives at Henrietta's door where she's welcomed by Henrietta's maid. Lights down on Nance and up on Latimer.
Miss Burnett, pen and paper, please.
Latimer's secretary enters bringing pen and paper to Latimer.
I've had a letter from Miss Omar, the young woman who dropped by so unexpectedly and borrowed your apron last winter. I've often pondered on her fate. I'm no idealist, as you know, but in spite of improbabilities, I've held out some hope for her. There's a certain quality of brave sincerity that shines through her faults like a star in her murky sky. Would you be good enough to go out to the conservatory and cut some roses?
Latimer picks up the pen and paper and begins to write. In Henrietta's parlor, Henrietta's guests are seated with their backs to the audience, facing Nance, who is finishing her performance as Leslie Carter in Du Barry.
And I'm off again to the old follies, to the something that pushes me on, and always away from the things I love best. No, it could not last. Nothing ever does last with me. Why try to change myself? I am a thing of the winds.
Nance bows and acknowledges the applause that is heard from Henrietta's guests.
Miss Olden, your performance was pure delight. I wonder, have we met before? I don't quite remember, but you look familiar somehow.
Oh, I shouldn't think so, Mrs. Ramsey. I've only been with Mr. Obermuller for a few months.
Well, perhaps I'm mistaken. I'll have your check sent round to you at the theater if that's all right. I'm sure we've raised enough money to buy new shoes for the orphans. I do hope you'll come back and entertain us another time.
Oh, of course. I'm glad to do it. I was brought up in the charity home myself.
No, I hadn't heard.
The Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. We simply called it the Cruelty.
Oh, my.
Henrietta's maid enters carrying a huge bouquet of roses with a card attached and hands them to Nance.
Thank you. Oh, it's from Mr. Latimer.
Such a thoughtful man. My dear, will you permit me to take you to lunch sometime soon? I'd like to hear all about your experience at the charity home. It would help me come to a better understanding of what the children really need. I'm sure we're missing something. Now, I must go say goodbye to my guests, if you'll excuse me.
Oh, of course.
Nance opens the letter, the card, and lights up on Latimer, who's sitting in his parlor in his wheelchair writing the letter.
My dear Miss Omar, I'm happy to hear of your new occupation. You will go far, I know, given your prodigious talent for deception. I apologize for missing your performance. As you know, there are some obstacles to my making an excursion. As regards your so-called friend, whatever mischief he's designed, whatever power he may claim, you have a devious and clever mind. I'm confident that in the end you'll free yourself from his coercion, turn the tables upside down and beat him at his own game. As for me, oh, this complacent life is much too tame. Please come and visit if you're so inclined. I would welcome the diversion. I think that you will find me much the same. Signed, Charles Latimer.
Nance enters Mother Doughty's shop.
Well, if it isn't Miss Fancy Nancy, back to your old tricks, are ya? What do you got for me?
I'm not selling. I want to buy something from you.
Oh my, haven't you changed your tune? What'll it be, an amethyst ring to match that brooch? Or perhaps a gift for a gentleman?
Can I order something custom made?
Sure you can, dearie, if you got the cash.
Here's the thing.
A little later that day, Fred is in his office with Angelo, who is on his way out.
Sorry, Mr. Orr. Really, I am.
Well, so am I, but that's life in the theater.
Mr. O, don't we have an appointment to rehearse that new scene from the play?
It's no use, Olden. God damn you, Max Taussig.
Don't you think, Mr. O, that it might be as well to quit cursing the syndicate till you've got something new to say or something different to rail about? It seems to me a man's likely to get daffy if he keeps harping on.
Oh, I've got it all right, Olden. Be sure of that. I've got something different to say of them and something new to swear about. They done me up is all.
Tell me.
Oh, it's easy. So easy, I never thought of it. They've just bought this building, out of hand, and served notice on me that when lease expires at the end of September, they won't be able to renew it, unfortunately. That's all. Well, no, not quite. They've made sure I won't be able to open up somewhere else, that no performer will work for me. They put out word that anyone that works for Fred Obermuller needn't come around to them in the future.
A blacklist.
It's just a hint, you know, but it works all right. It works like...
When's your play?
My play. Indeed, it looks like the end of that little fantasy.
What are you gonna do? What can you do?
Shoot Max Taussig, or myself, or both of us.
Nonsense.
Of course it's nonsense. Never mind about me. What are you going to do? Perhaps you'd better think it over seriously for a day or two and decide if it wouldn't be best to take up with Max Taussig's offer and go to work at the Grand.
You're telling me to leave?
I think it would be wise.
But the orphanage number still brings in the nickels.
Staying here could do you a lot of harm and wouldn't do me much good.
But I won't go to work for that despicable little man. I've talked to some of the actors over there. He'd sell his own mother if he saw some profit in it.
Holden, be reasonable. I know you can take care of yourself, but you don't realize what these fellas are capable of. When Gaffney told me before he gave up and went out west that there was a genuine signed conspiracy to crush out us independents, I laughed at him. It's a dream, Gaffney, I said, but he swears there's a document signed by the great Max Taussig himself and by Heffelfinger of the Pacific Circuit, by Dixon of Chicago and Weinstock of New York.
Off to one side in the shadows, as if rehearsing a new song in an empty theater, Wilson enters dressed as one of the 4 millionaires. He carries a paper document and a quill pen. He makes a great show of signing the document. Constance enters dressed as one of the 4 millionaires. Wilson hands her the document and the pen, and Constance makes a great show of signing the document. Maggie enters dressed as one of the millionaires. Constance hands her the document and the pen, and Maggie makes a great show of signing the document. Ginger enters dressed as one of the 4 millionaires. Maggie hands him the document and the pen, and Ginger makes a great show of signing the document.
Those low-life impresarios, we're gonna shut them down so we can reap the profits from every show in town. We'll put them out of business, we'll drive them to the wall. We'll blacklist their performers and we'll control it all.
Angelo's just been in to tell me he's quitting at the end of the month and going over to the Grand to work for Taussig.
Well, he couldn't wait till the end of September, only another month.
That wouldn't be in his best interests. You're not burdened with the contract, Olden.
That's right. The only contract we ever had was imaginary, just like that conspiracy contract.
Listen, One time when I was over at the Grand arguing with Tausig about his practice of poaching my performers, he lost his temper and pulled a paper out of his desk and shook it in my face. It had to be the contract that Gaffney told me about.
Did you read it? It might have been his grocery list for all you know.
It was the contract. There were signatures at the bottom of the page.
And he keeps this famous contract in his desk, not in a safe?
Have you been listening to me?
No, on second thought, I will go. You're right. It doesn't take long to know that when you're between the devil and the deep sea, you'd better try the devil rather than be forced out into the wet. I better just go over there where it's warm. They'll be glad to get me in, and to tell the truth, I'll be glad to get in with the trust. I have to think of my career. I'll go pack my things.
Wait. I'll write out your paycheck.
But send it to me over at the Grand.
There's no...
If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly.
'Tis disaster you be courting, quoting the Scottish play inside this building. Oh, Nance, I'll miss you. Now go before I embarrass myself. Welcome to Obermuller's vaudeville. The rats have fled, the ship is going down. The show today is free, for as anyone can see, there's no one left to laugh at but the clown.
Next morning, Nance enters carrying a parasol and crosses to Max's office at the Grand Theater, where Max is seated at his desk.
Got tired of staying out in the cold, huh?
Well, I'm tired of vaudeville skits. Can't you give me a chance in a full-length comedy?
Ambitious, ain't you?
Obermuller has a comedy all ready for me, written for me. He'd star me in it fast enough if he had the chance.
But he'll never get the chance. He's on the toboggan, heading downhill fast. That's where they all get, my dear, when they're pig-headed enough to fight us.
It's a shame about his play, though. He's so clever. Why, the plot of the play is the bulliest thing.
You've read it? You remember it?
Oh, I know it by heart. My part in it. You see, he kept trying it out on me. In a way, we worked on it together.
Then, in a way, as you say, it's part yours.
Hardly. Imagine Nance Olden writing a play.
Still, you collaborated. That's the word. I say, my dear, if I could read that comedy and it was half what you say it is, I don't promise, mind you, but I might put the thing on and let you have the part that was written for you. I'd like to read that comedy, yes?
But Obermuller would never...
But Olden might...
What?
Dictate the plot to my secretary Mason in there. You could give him the plot and as much of your own part as you can remember. You know, Mason used to be a newspaper man, smart fellow when he's sober. He could piece out the holes, yes?
I suppose. But of course, that play is valuable.
I'll tell you what. If it's good and we decide to put it on, we'll pay you $200 down in addition to your salary. If it's rot, you'll have your salary weekly all the time you're at it, just the same as if you were working on the stage.
I'm sure Mr. Obermuller's play is worth a great deal more than $200.
Now what makes you say that?
Why, the very fact that you're willing to pay me $200 for it.
Oh, you have some nerve. I suppose we could go as high as $250 if we decide to produce it. I'll speak to Mason. You'll be working with him in the mornings before anyone else is about. We want to keep this thing dark till it's done. Obermuller mustn't get any idea what we're up to. You don't love you for shaking him?
Oh, he's furious. Wouldn't even say goodbye. But I'm done for with him anyway, I guess. But what can I do?
Nothing, my dear. Absolutely nothing. Mason!
Mason enters and goes to his desk, which has a typewriter on it. Mason inserts a sheet of paper into the typewriter. He types while Nance speaks. She paces the room and mimics the actions of the characters she's playing. They act out the play as he types. As Mason and Nance work, he places the typed pages in a tray on his desk.
I don't want to frighten you.
Sergeant, one look at you would scare some people to death.
Am I that homely?
Homely? Why, an undershot bulldog is a peacock alongside of you.
Undershot? What's that mean?
Mason takes off his jacket and hangs it on the back of his chair.
Mr. Obermuller says it means his bottom teeth stick out even when his mouth is closed.
Both Nance and Mason make a full turn. As Nance removes her jacket, Mason sits down at the typewriter and begins typing again.
How about this Worthington robbery? Wasn't he in on it?
No, he wasn't.
Who was?
Well, I'll tell you. There was 3 of us. Me, Jesse James, and Cleopatra.
Mason takes a page out of the typewriter, hands it to Nance, and rolls up his sleeves.
Answers like that'll get you nothing here.
Mason stands and does a full turn. Nance tosses the paper aside, rolls up her sleeves, and does a full turn.
You ought to know Sully well enough by now. He'll get something on us. Leave it to him.
Well, if he does, I'll turn squealer for the first time in my life.
Don't you do it. I could never look you square in the eye again if you did.
It ain't no worse to squeal than it is to steal.
She does a full turn as Mason removes the paper from the typewriter and places it in the tray.
Yes, it is, kid. God forgive a thief, but he hates a squealer.
Oh, let's take a break and go get ourselves a big glass of iced lemonade.
Nance and Mason exit and Max enters, speaking to himself.
Let's see what I've been paying for all these weeks.
Max takes a page from the typewriter and reads it aloud melodramatically.
Ain't I welcome here, Rosie? You're about as welcome as the rainy holiday. You promised to let up on Mac. I'll never let up on him. He's a crook. Well, what are you?
Nance and Mason enter and resume their work as Max listens.
You're a bigger thief than he is.
Oh, brilliant! You know what we've got on our hands? The biggest hit in years. If that fool Obermuller knew enough to come in out of the cold, he could have had his piece of it. Stubborn as sin, serves him right.
I'll set you up like a queen, and between us, we'll milk the tenderloin dry.
But what about Fred?
Fred?
Mac. Mac.
Oh, not feeling sorry for that misguided has-been, are you, Mrs. Olden?
Sorry, not a bit of it. Still, it's too bad to make an enemy of him. Given his connection.
Ain't I told you he's on the toboggan?
But you never can tell with a man like that. I heard he got into that combine with Heffelfinger and Dixon.
What are you talking about?
Oh, well, it's only what I heard.
Heffelfinger and Dixon are in the trust with us. Who told you that fairy story?
Obermuller told me himself.
Oh, they're fooling him a bunch or two. Never you mind, Obermuller. He's a dead one.
Oh, he said you thought they were in with you, but that's nothing that a written agreement would hold men like that, and you haven't got one.
Then I'd be a bigger fool than Obermuller. You see, my dear, I'd never trust a man I couldn't buy.
He walks over to his desk and gives it an affectionate pat. Lights down on the office and back up on Obermuller's vaudeville theater, where Betty, dressed in a man's suit, strolls across the stage playing a concertina.
Oh, why should we grieve for the days that are gone? Why mourn over sweet 120? Since friends may be purchased and beauty be won by him that has money and plenty.
It's late at night in Max's office. Nance enters silently. She carries Tom's bag of burglar's tools. She picks the lock on Max's desk and does a quick search. She takes a piece of paper to a spot where the light is best and studies it. Satisfied, she pins the paper to her petticoat. She then moves to Mason's desk and picks up the pile of typed pages. She tears these into little pieces and tosses them in the air. They fall around her like confetti. She picks up the bag of tools and makes her way out to the street. Nance has just left the Grand Theater. She pauses to look at the Macy's window. Shoppers and businessmen with briefcases pass by. Then Tom enters and approaches Nance from behind.
Hello, Nance.
Oh, Tommy, you gave me a fright.
As you glad to see me?
Don't sneak up on a person like that.
Obermuller tossed you out?
Something like that.
Listen, Nance, my sister Nora says the Kasten coming around to her place looking for me. We can't stay here. It's time to make a strike.
Oh, Lady Gray's still working at Obermuller's. I've gone over to the Grand, so I don't have a chance now.
You should have done it before now. How stupid can you be? Find a way. There's a freighter leaving for Liverpool at midnight Tuesday. You do the job and meet me at the docks. From there, we can get to Paris easy. You can teach me Frenchy talk on the way over.
But Tom...
Don't argue with me, Nance. You just do like I said. Don't make me get mad and do something you don't like. Remember what I got on you. You wouldn't want me tipping off the coppers now.
You wouldn't.
Sure I would, though.
All right. I'll find a way.
Betty's dressing room the next day. Lady Gray's talking with Betty and Constance and Maggie. They're all in their costume for the next number.
Fred Obermuller found her and made her. Just dug her out of the ground, taught her every blessed thing she knows, wrote her monologues for her, gave her a chance, and now, well, Max Tausig don't pay salaries for nothing. And she gets hers over there at the Grand every week, from what I hear. But she hasn't set foot on the stage yet, and they say she's in his office every morning like clockwork.
I'm sure there's an explanation.
Oh, there's an explanation, all right.
Other than what you're thinking.
She could have stayed till the end of Mr. Obermuller's lease like we're doing.
And here I thought you were staying because you didn't get an offer from Max Tausig.
Don't be nasty, Ethel. I'm not going over to the Grand either.
You really ought to stop mooning over Fred Obermuller. Do you think we haven't noticed? It's pathetic. He doesn't even know you're alive.
Yeah, maybe not. But I won't insult him by going to work for Max Tausig.
Maybe you can afford to be all holier than thou, but some of us need our jobs.
Places! On the vaudeville stage, factory workers enter and take their seats at sewing machines. The owner and the foreman enter, looking over the workers' shoulders and touching them freely.
A song about employment.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Don't show rebellious attitude. Bow down and kiss the feet of your employer. Demonstrate the proper gratitude. Shut up and do your work without complaining. Remember, you are easy to replace.
Bend over and say, thank you for the warning, unless you want to leave here in disgrace. You're late, Betty. One more time and I'll dismiss you.
Where would you be without your little paycheck? Subsisting on a stale crust of bread.
Your factory work seems dangerous and demeaning. Remember that it keeps your family fed.
If you don't find conditions to your liking, consider what you'd have to do instead. You might try selling pencils on the corner or entertaining sailors in your bed. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Don't show rebellious attitude. Bow down and lick the boots of your employer. Demonstrate the proper gratitude.
Demonstrate the proper gratitude.
Demonstrate the proper
In Latimer's parlor the next morning, Latimer holds the Max Tausig contract.
I suppose I shouldn't ask how you came by this very troubling document.
Mr. Obermuller told me about it.
Surely he didn't expect you.
He doesn't know I have it. Is he right? Does it show that there's an illegal conspiracy?
A conspiracy is an agreement to do something that's against the law. That's the legal definition. What we have here is several theater managers making an agreement that says they'll only hire vaudeville performers through a central booking agent.
Which freezes out any performer who isn't in with the push.
Yes, it will doubtless have that effect, but it's not illegal.
But Mr. Obermuller said this agreement violates the Sherman Act.
Mr. Obermuller is a man of many virtues, but he isn't a lawyer, which some might say is a virtue in itself. Now, please understand, I'm no friend of Max Taussig, but it's my opinion that this agreement doesn't do anything that's prohibited by the Sherman Act.
But I thought...
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I couldn't advise Mr. Obermuller to spend several years of his life and more money than you can imagine trying to persuade the Federal Trade Commission that this agreement violates the Sherman Act. He'd likely just end up frustrated and broke.
I see. Oh, but Mr. Obermuller, he was so sure. And I wanted so much to give him the proof that he needed. He was so good to me. Underneath all that bluff and bluster, he's the kindest man I've ever met.
If you want to express your gratitude to him, maybe you should just say it.
You mean, tell him?
You have no shortage of vocabulary. I'm sure you can find the words. Now, Miss Omar, if I may change the subject, have you found a solution to the difficulty you're having with your former business associate?
I know what I have to do.
Please be careful.
But leave the wise to wrangle, and with me the quarrel of the universe let be, and in some corner of the hubbub pouch make game of that which makes as much of thee.
In Betty's dressing room that evening, Lady Grey, who is wearing the rose diamond necklace, is talking with Betty, Constance, and Maggie, and there's a huge bouquet of roses on the table.
Did I hear your husband's in town?
That's right. His lordship and I are leaving for a quick holiday in Atlantic City.
Oh, you lucky thing.
It'll be kind of dead on a Monday, but c'est la vie. I can only go when this place is dark. Look what the cat dragged in.
Nance, we've been missing you.
Slumming.
Oh, just paying a friendly call. Is Mr. Obermuller in his office?
I haven't seen him around today.
Try over at Maria's Cafe, but don't expect a warm welcome.
I suppose we'll see you backstage at the Grand in a couple of weeks. Or will you still be working for Mr. Taussig privately?
Oh, I won't be working for Mr. Taussig at all. I quit.
What? You'll never get another job in New York.
I don't care. Max Taussig is a monster, and I wouldn't go back there for a farm. If any of you go over there, be careful. That man is like a spider.
Unlike you, Olden, not all of us are so casual about our careers. Well, I'd better go give this necklace to Topham so he can put it in the safe. Toodaloo.
Have fun. Bring us some saltwater taffy.
What a witch.
Maggie, don't be too hard on her. We all know she doesn't have much to offer except her access to his lordship's sparks. That was a bad bargain, if you ask me. She got the title, but now she's stuck with a compulsive gambler who doesn't love her.
But he's taking her to Atlantic City.
She's his meal ticket. He throws her a crumb now and then. I mean, I know she can be a pill. She deserves a little kindness.
If you say so. Have you seen much of Jimmy Hennessy over at the Grand?
Oh, that devil Jimmy Hennessy. No loyalty at all. Fred was so broken up when he defected. Oh God, but that voice. And that face. Oh, there's Amanda Sloan over.
One of your conquests?
Yeah, he's happily married. I wouldn't do that.
And what happily unmarried man sent you those gorgeous roses, buddy?
My latest. My landlady's son in my boarding house. He's a dentist.
A dentist? He'd be looking at your teeth all the time.
Admiring her pretty smile, you mean? Betty, have you ever tried to work your charms on Mr. Topham?
Gray's puppy dog? He wouldn't leave those diamonds unguarded for half a minute.
Well, I bet Betty could lure him away for a whole 10 minutes.
I don't think so, Nance.
You're on. If I can do it, you have to buy me the biggest box of chocolate creams from McFarland's.
Ooh, it's a bet.
I'll do it right now. You just go on over to McFarland's and buy those creams. Hand me the Rouge Pot, Maggie. Thanks. All right. Watch this.
Lights down on Betty's dressing room and lights up on Gray's dressing room where Topham is putting Gray's diamond necklace into the big jewelry box on Gray's dressing table when Betty knocks.
Mr. Topham?
Betty, you're looking for Lady Grey. She's just just gone to the train station.
Mr. Topham, there's a big spider in my dressing room. Will you come kill it, please?
Sorry, Betty, you know I have to stay here. Kill it yourself.
Oh, no, I can't. I am terrified of spiders. I would simply faint.
Then get somebody else to do it. Where's Wilson or Ginger?
Oh, everybody's gone out. Oh, please, Mr. Topham. I can't go back in there with that horrible creature. It might crawl up right up inside my petticoats.
Well...
Who's going to know? And I'll make it worth your while. I'll do something nice for you.
Something nice?
Something very nice.
I suppose, just for a minute now that this box is locked.
Thank you, Mr. Topham.
They exit, and a moment later, Nance enters on tiptoe. She bends down and takes a lockpick out of her boot. She picks the lock on the jewelry box and opens the lid. She takes out the rose diamond necklace and holds it up. It glitters brilliantly. Lights down on Nance. Backstage a few minutes later, there's nobody around, and Fred enters, checking the dressing rooms.
Anyone here? I'm locking up.
Fred looks into Gray's dressing room where the big jewelry box is sitting on the table.
Topham, where are you?
Fred walks over to the jewelry box and tries to open it, but it's locked.
Good evening, Mr. Obermuller.
Topham, where have you been?
I just stepped out for a moment to answer a call of nature.
Fred indicates the jewelry box.
It's fine. There's nobody here.
Exactly. You know the protocol. The box goes in the safe before you leave this room.
Topham puts the jewelry box into the safe and closes it.
Sorry, Mr. O.
You will be if anything happens to that necklace. Now go home. I'll finish locking up.
Good night, Mr. Obermuller.
Good night, Topham. See you on Tuesday.
Obermuller's vaudeville stage that evening. The theater is empty and Nance enters in the semi-darkness.
Alden, what are you doing here?
Fred.
I'm standing on the stage boards. My sojourn here has been so short. Tomorrow night I'll board a ship to take me to a distant port. It's time to say goodbye, to leave behind the footlights, the applause, this life I found. I knew it couldn't last. The audience, the costumes, the band, this magic thing that got a hold of me. It's over. It's already in the past. Oh, c'est la vie. I'm off to Paris. At last I'll see the Moulin Rouge, the Tower Eiffel, that city of delights where grafting pays and thieves can do so very well. I'll enchant the ladies with my winning ways. My pretty please, très bien merci, my s'il vous plaît. I'll charm the rings right off their fingers. Their treasures will be mine to sell. I'm through with silly little vaudeville plays, with tawdry actresses and sentimental singers, the gossiping and jealousy backstage. There's nothing left to keep me here. Like Tommy said, it's lifting. That is truly my career.
Alden, what are you doing here?
I came by to visit with the girls, but it looks like everyone's left already.
So they have. Now go on home, please, so I can finish locking up and get myself some supper.
Tell Betty I came by to see her.
I'll do that. Alden, wait a moment. Is there something you should be telling me?
How did you know? Mr. O, I've done a terrible thing.
Oh, Nance, how could you?
No, it's not what you think. Look, I know what people are saying about me and that weasel, Max Taussig, but it's not true. I did something much worse.
Well?
I sold your play to that vile man.
You did what?
Well, I dictated it to his secretary.
My play?
Well, he couldn't wait to get it on the stage million tiny pieces.
Wait, you tore it to pieces?
It's all confetti now.
Max Tausig really wants to produce my play.
Didn't I just say so? He was daffy with it. He was practically drooling. I wish I'd been there to see his face. He thought his fortune was made.
But why? I mean, it's obviously why you'd sell it to him, but why did you tear it up?
Well, I couldn't let the thief steal your play.
But your career, Olden. You've hoodwinked the high and mighty Max Tausig. You'll be blacklisted.
Then I'll be in excellent company.
Hans, it's not a joke. You have such a promising future.
Don't worry about me. Listen, Mr. O, let's go talk to Max Tausig about producing your play.
I know that look, you've got something up your sleeve, but no thank you.
Oh, please? I think I could persuade him to be very generous.
No, I'm not going to do business with that man, and that's the end of it. He forced me to shut down, and he's blacklisting my actors.
All right, I understand. But phone me tonight at my boarding house if you change your mind.
That's not in the cards. Now that we've exhausted that topic, is there anything else you want to tell me while you're in a confessing mood?
No, not a thing.
You're sure about that?
I'm sure.
Well then, I'll just finish locking up and go get something to eat. Good night, Olden.
Good night, Mr. O.
Very late that night in Fred's office, Betty enters. She wears a man's white suit and carries a bottle and 2 shot glasses, which she places on Fred's desk.
Betty, what are you doing here?
Thought you might like a drink.
I mean, why are you still working here? Didn't you get an offer from Max Tausig?
Well, I told him, in a refined, ladylike way, of course, what he could do with this offer.
You'll be out of work soon, and on his blacklist.
Along with half the folks in the show.
What will you do now?
Me? I don't know. Maybe open a voice studio? Maybe go to California.
It's awfully far away.
Yes. What's eating you, Fred? Anything you want to talk about?
Bruce, Olden says Max Tausig wants to produce my play.
How in the world would Max Tausig know anything about your play?
Long story. I said absolutely not, but I'm vexed about it. Ordinarily, I'd jump at the chance to get that play staged. Betty, I wish I could talk to my stepfather. I've told you about him.
Many times.
I promised him I'd keep this theater in my family.
Yeah, I remember.
So I can't betray his memory by making any deals with Max Tausig for the sake of my own gratification.
Well, your stepfather knew that circumstances change. That's why he left Bavaria. Fred, what will you do after the show closes?
I have no idea. I haven't really thought about it.
Because theater is your life. Are you going to sit in your room brooding until you drink yourself to death?
Doesn't sound very appealing.
Life is full of compromises. I think your stepfather would forgive you.
Betty, you're wonderful. Pour me another, will you?
So you'll talk to Max Tausig. See if you can make a deal with him.
Dance with the devil?
Right up Broadway.
All right. I'll go see him in the morning.
This isn't bad for cheap whiskey, is it?
You're not really thinking of going to California?
It's a possibility.
How long does it take to get there?
6 days. Train leaves from Grand Central at 8:22.
You looked at the timetable?
And crosses the Hudson at Poughkeepsie. See the whole continent. Imagine. Pennsylvania Central to Chicago. I'm looking out the window at the view. The conductor comes around to punch my ticket. I plan how I'll describe it all to you. Chicago, we change trains.
that you wouldn't go away.
So you're asking me to stay
with me. And I think we should get married right away.
Well, okay, but you know I'll never promise to obey.
I wouldn't dream of asking you that. I should offer you a ring.
It's all so unexpected.
And there's nothing in my pockets but the ticket for my laundry.
I'd be happy with a little bit of string.
Fred finds a bit of string and ties it around Betty's finger.
That we'll have to do until another day. Now I think it's time to kiss my fiancé.
Max's office the next morning.
Mason! Some Greek fellow just opened the vaudeville house in Seattle. Send somebody out there to explain the rules to him. Oh, how dare you bring that little snake into my office? You have no idea what treachery she's capable of.
Oh, you're wrong about that. I have a pretty good notion about some of her methods.
Get out, both of you. I never want to see her lying face again.
Now hold your horses, Tausig. I understand you want to produce my play. Now that you can't steal it, maybe you'd like to negotiate.
Well, Obermuller, it looks like you've finally come to your senses. Possibly. Given your present situation, I'd be doing you quite a favor, but...
Older will have the lead, of course.
You're jumping the gun of you, Obermuller. It just might play with substantial revisions, of course. I'd be taking quite a risk. I can only offer you half the usual commission. As for Miss Olden, you heard me.
In that case...
Well, he'll do it. It's all right. I have other plans. Mr. Tausig, do you recognize this document?
Oh, is that
what
That's your signature, I think. I showed this document to a lawyer who specializes in contract matters. He said it definitely violates the Sherman Act. It's an illegal agreement to restrain trade. He, the lawyer, told me I should take it straight to the police, but I realized you might not want that to happen. Of course, I could take it to the city editor on the Sun instead.
Sit down, Tausig. So you'll produce it?
I'll need to talk to my lawyer.
No, you won't. This is a one-time offer, now or never.
Done. I'll produce it.
Very good. You'll pay me twice the usual commission. Olden will play Rosie, and Betty Blackburn will play Louise.
Betty Blackburn?
But Olden won't be available.
Let's stipulate that Olden will play the lead in the event she becomes available, and I will choose the director. Furthermore, you will be absent yourself from all rehearsals. And every performer who ever worked for me will be removed from your blacklist.
All right. Give my secretary a list.
One more thing, I need a $100 advance.
I'll have my lawyer draw up the paperwork tomorrow morning.
I want the 100 now, I'll sign a receipt.
I have to get it out of my safe.
Get it. I'll wait. The reason for this, Olden?
The reason?
Whatever made you decide to borrow that document?
I wanted to do something for you. You are so good to me. You made me feel like I had a home. You and Betty.
Ah, Betty. She's a treasure, all right.
Well, it's about time.
I couldn't be courting her when she was working for me. It wouldn't be right. But now I won't be the one signing her paycheck.
Mason enters and hands Fred an envelope and receipt to sign. Fred checks the envelope quickly.
$100, all here.
Fred signs the receipt and hands it to Mason.
See that Tausig gets that? We'll be on our way. I'm Captain Jinx of the Horse Marines.
I feed my horse on corn and beans, although it's quite beyond my means. Oh, that's the life in the army.
On the street immediately following.
What's this Olden isn't available business? Another one of your schemes? Seriously, what are you playing at?
Seriously, Mr. O, I won't be available. I'm going to Paris. Not exactly in a White Star Line stateroom like her chippy ladyship travels, My friend Tommy Dorgan found a freighter to take us up to Liverpool.
And who's this Tommy Dorgan, if I may ask?
He's my fiance.
Your fiancé?
He helped me when I got booted out of the charity. He taught me everything I know.
About taking what's not yours, a habit it seems you've fallen back into. Don't tell me. And why haven't I ever met this marvelous fellow, Tommy Dorgan?
Well, he's been away.
Way up the river, Sing Sing? Well?
There's nothing for me here. I might as well start over somewhere else. And I heard that in Paris, if you've got wit, you can just spin the world right around your little finger.
Is that what you've heard?
So I have to say goodbye.
I smell a rat, Olin. What's going on? You've got a great future on the stage. Thanks to your machinations, there's no more blacklist. Now you want to throw it all in and go back to living on the street? Some two-bit criminal? It just doesn't add up.
You don't understand.
No, I don't. Perhaps you'd be good enough to explain it to me.
You know what I was.
Best leave that in the past.
That's just it. Tom Dorgan, he won't let me leave it in the past.
He's threatening you?
He said he'll go to the newspapers with it.
He can't do that without exposing himself. Don't you see?
Well, he doesn't think like that. He's desperate.
Sounds like he said to leave the country with you or without you.
He won't go without me.
What makes you so sure?
He thinks I've got something he wants.
Ah, I see. Just when do you plan on leaving?
Late tonight, I'm meeting Tommy at the docks.
Tonight? At the freight docks? I'll go with you.
I can take care of myself.
Well, I never forgive myself if anything were to happen to you, so you'll just have to put up with my company.
But Mr. O...
I insist. Meet me at the theater, we'll go together.
All right. I'll be there.
The docks at night, we see the side of a freighter with its ladder down. Boat whistles can be heard. A match flares briefly, followed by the glow of a cigarette. Tom's shadowy figure smokes and paces. Nance enters and Fred hangs back in the shadows.
Did you do like I said?
Yes, Tom.
That's my girl. I knew you'd find a way. We're still a pair. We'll hang together, same as before. This is our chance. Pickings are good over there. Just like you wanted, we're going to France. Well, hand it over. Who's this?
Mr. Fred Obermuller from the vaudeville.
What's he doing here?
Just looking out for her.
I'll be taking care of her from now on.
If you don't mind my asking, do you have any money? How do you plan to provide for Miss Olden?
What's that to you?
I don't care a lick about you, but Olden deserves a friend to help her out of the muck you dragged her into.
I came back for her as soon as I could.
What did you do? Bring her more trouble. Soon as you could, showing your face. She deserves better than you. You'd better get yourself out of this place.
Tom, I've been thinking I might stay here in New York.
What a stupid idea. It's all that vaudeville business gone to your head. You just forget about that right now. You had it sweet. I could have rotted up in the pen. You didn't care. Now that I'm back on the street, don't you abandon me. You wouldn't dare.
Maybe you should consider what Miss Olden wants.
You should butt out. This ain't your business. Leave us alone. Don't make me sore. I won't be leaving without... You've taken up with him, you little...
You! That's no way to talk to a lady.
She's mine. I'll talk to her any way I want.
Tom dodges. Fred and Tom circle each other, ready for a fight.
Stop! Here, just take it!
Nance takes a small package out of her pocket. Tom starts to reach for it just as a policeman enters.
Evening, Sergeant.
Evening. Everything all right here?
Calm as a dead mackerel on a plate.
Well then, good night.
Now give it to me.
Nance holds out the little package. Tom grabs it and stuffs it inside his clothing. He takes hold of Nance's arm.
Come on, Nance, let's get out of here.
You can sell that and live like a king, but I'm not going with you.
Nance!
Let me go! This man here, Mr. Fred Obermuller, he knows what's inside that little package, but he didn't try to stop me from giving it to you. Do you know why? Because he believes in me. He believes in my future. He believes in my freedom. I see it all clear. You never loved me. I was a tool that you could use. Misguided and driven by fear. You can't control me now. I get to choose.
You should go now. Go! Before I change my mind and call that policeman back.
All right, I'm going. You'll be sorry, Nance, if you get pinched for this.
You let me worry about that. Tommy, old friend, I will remember how you were then, gallus and gay. Now that we've come to the end, you keep yourself safe in that place far away.
And stay gone.
Tom goes to the ship's ladder and begins to climb, disappearing into the darkness. Fred and Nance walk away, disappearing into the darkness as they cross to a nearby saloon. A few minutes later, at the nearby saloon, Fred and Nance stand at the bar.
That necklace was appraised at $55,000. It's insured, of course, but...
Mr. Obermuller, as far as I know, the rose diamond is still in the safe in Lady Grey's dressing room.
Olin. Then what was in the package you gave Mr. Dorgan?
A copy, made of rhinestones, a very convincing copy.
So all this time, you were planning to switch them. What made you change your mind?
It was something Betty said about being kind to people.
She's good at that. Do you have any idea how much trouble I would have been in if you'd... I've told Gray over and over again, she should hire a Pinkerton man to watch those things, or else there'd be trouble for us all someday.
I was thinking I might put it in Max Tausig's desk and tip off the police about where they could find it.
Not bad. Not bad at all. But Nance, what if you'd gone with Dorgan on that freighter? I mean, eventually you would have found out it was a fake. What then?
By then, we would have been in different cities.
Of course. Regrets, Olin?
About Tom? Not one. About Paris? Maybe a little.
Who knows? You may get there yet. In the meantime, do you think you might be available to play Rosie after all?
I just might.
Maybe it would really be a hit. Max Tausig has a way of turning everything he touches into gold. Speaking of gold, you know why I asked Tausig for that $100? How would you like to go to Tiffany's with me and help me buy a diamond ring? You'll have to keep your hands in your pockets, of course.
Of course.
The sidewalk in front of Delmonico's restaurant. It's winter again. Henrietta and Edward stand talking with Latimer, who's in his wheelchair.
Not exactly highbrow stuff, but I haven't laughed so hard in years. Obermuller should be very pleased with himself.
Still, it's a shame about his theater.
Nance enters with Fred and Betty, who are arm in arm, and Nance wears a red coat with a fur collar.
Greetings. Allow me to introduce Betty Blackburn.
Also known as Mrs. Fred Obermuller. But please, call me Betty.
It's a pleasure to meet you, my dear. And what a lovely coat, Miss Olden.
Oh, thank you. It's last year's fashion, but I could not resist.
Congratulations to all of you on the play. We've seen it twice now.
Best show in New York. Miss Olden, you're quite the comedian.
And Mr. Obermuller, or Mrs. Obermuller.
Betty.
Betty, I hope we'll be hearing more of your lovely voice.
Do you need any help getting over the threshold, Latimer?
If you wouldn't mind. I'm still not sure why I was invited to this gathering, unless perhaps you need legal advice.
Nothing of the sort. We're planning to start an arts program at the orphanage.
We want you to read poetry to the children.
My dear Henrietta, my dear Miss Olden, if we can solve the problem of getting me there, and nothing would give me greater pleasure. And what's your role in this enterprise, Edward?
I believe someone has to write the check.
Ah, yes. But why are we waiting out here in the cold? Shall we go in?
break the spell, but it's time to say farewell.
And be sure to check your pockets when you go.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
We did it. We did the thing. We were supposed to come. We did. And now we're